Hey, what's up, Sifters? Welcome to GameFace, episode 338 on Sifted Games at Sifted.net. I'm Shane Satterfield, and I'm here to deliver discussion on the week's biggest topics in gaming. And alongside me to do that is Matthew Kyle. What's up, Matt?
Not much.
No Luna yet.
No, Luna's...
Our co-host has not shown up yet.
Luna's late, but we'll see. Sometimes she gets here on her own
You turned it
time.
into a diva now, see. Last time she disappeared when she realized she wasn't on camera. It's all going to her head, Matt. She wants that camera time. Hope you guys are doing good. Hope you guys have had a good week, and you're looking forward to a great week this week. It's been a very slow week in the world of video games, Matt.
It has.
Well,
really... other than the box office.
Yeah. And we'll talk about the Super Mario Brothers movie today. That's going to be the first topic. We're going to give our reviews of the film. I'm sure some of you guys have seen it, but not all of you, as I'll get to in a moment. But it has been a very slow week for games. No big game releases really at all. There was kind of one, and you played that. There was a new side mode that was released, and I played that. So we did play everything that came out this week. There just wasn't a lot. The good news is there's tons of other topics that we're going to discuss on today's show. So don't think that we're going to shortchange you for GameFace 338. Nothing could be further from the truth. So then we have a great show for you guys, just not a bunch of games. You guys may actually like today's episode a little more because instead of us spending in 45 minutes or whatever on one game, we have a ton of topics today that are going to move. So this show is definitely going to move along more than the average episode of GameFace. Let's check in on chat here and see how y'all are doing since we last ran into everybody. Last week I missed, by the way, I want to apologize. Last week I missed thanking everybody for Twitch Prime at the beginning of the show. It's hard to remember to do everything whenever I'm running TriCaster and trying to host the show, so I hope you guys can cut me a little bit of slack. Corey Film, thank you for Twitch Prime. Andy T. Monahan, thank you for subscribing at Tier 1 for 36 months. That is flipping awesome. Thank you. As you can see, the hype train is already starting to leave the station right now. Rosencrantz, thank you for subscribing at Tier 1. That's awesome. Eve Demon reminds us that Mega Man Battle Network comes out at the end of the week, and we'll discuss that in next week's show. Texture Glitch, thank you for Twitch Prime. David Nordic, thank you for Twitch Prime. Not sure if you work at THQ Nordic, but if you do, you guys are doing a good job over there. One Super Master Gamer, thank you for Twitch Prime. And Justin Horman, one of our most fervent supporters, thank you for subscribing at Tier 2. And you have subscribed for 70 months. It's hard to believe we've even been doing this for 70 months, Matt.
Yep.
The time just whips on by. Like, it's really crazy to think that it's basically, it just turned 10 years since I left Game Trailers to start working on Sifted. Mm-hmm. In January of this year, it was 10 years from the day. 10 years, people, since I've left Game Trailers. Can you believe that?
Yeah, and somewhere in here is the 8th anniversary of the first episode of this.
Yeah, it's coming up.
It was April sometime.
Yeah, maybe right now. Yeah. So we're getting to almost the 8th year anniversary of Sifted. Can you believe that? I can't believe it. The time just goes on by. I'm sure the younger people are like, I don't know, it seems like it's taking forever for me. But as I said many times on this show, as you get older, the time, your perception of time just gets warped and everything just happens way more quickly. I wish I could go back to your age where it seemed like time was dragging and you were bored. I can't remember the last time I was bored, Matt.
I can. It was 2020.
Really? You got bored during the pandemic?
During lockdown, yeah.
I did not. I never got bored.
Yeah,
I just have so many hobbies that, like, if I'm not working, if I can't work, I just have tons of other stuff that I want to do.
I have hobbies, but I didn't have any people.
Yeah. I mean, that just sucks, honestly, not having people around. That was the hard part, but I never got bored. I just wanted to be able to interact with other people, so.
You also had your wife in
You're right. That's a very good point, Matt, is that you had to sit here by yourself. I had somebody to talk to all the time. That makes a big difference. Eric Cartman, my first GameFace episode was the closing of GT. Interesting. Yeah. I'm guessing a lot of people probably started checking out Sifted right around then, just trying to figure out, like, where am I going to go now? Because you obviously were losing a lot of content that you had counted on for a really long time. But yeah, it's been 8 years almost since Sifted launched. In June, it'll be 8 years. And it's been 10 years since I left Game Trailers to start working on Sifted. And you can do the math and see it took 2 years to build Sifted, which was way, way longer than it was supposed to. And that was not good. That's probably the worst thing that happened to Sifted, was how long it took to get it done. I was gone for 2 years. Forever, as far as everybody knew, I was dead. Like, I'm not a big Twitter guy, so I wasn't on Twitter like all the time saying, "Hey, pay attention to me." I just kind of reappeared, and I was like, "Hey, I'm doing this thing," and they're like, half the people are like, who are you? 2 years is a long time on the internet.
An eternity.
Yeah, so I do want to thank all you guys who remembered me and felt like you wanted to support me and what we were doing here at Sifted. Without people like you, we wouldn't be making the 8th anniversary of Sifted. It really is amazing. So thanks again, everybody. And we will celebrate that a little bit more when we get to June, because we're not going to have E3 to celebrate. God of Gamblers 33, Shane Impactor bonus round was the first video I saw on Game Trailers. Interesting. Because the weird thing about bonus round was I wasn't on there all that often. I only went on bonus round when somebody bailed at the last minute. Like, the idea was that I was not supposed to be on there. In fact, I've never really wanted to be on camera at all. The only reason I was ever the host of Invisible Walls was because we did auditions with 40 people to host the show. We brought in people from the outside. We had everybody inside Game Trailers who wanted to host it, do an audition, and we never found anybody. And eventually people were just like, you should do it. And I was like, okay, I'll do a test episode. And once we did the test episode, it wasn't a complete disaster. And that's how I ended up on Invisible Walls. But before that, working at G4 and Tech TV, I was hardly ever on camera. Unless somebody needed someone to fill in a bit part for a skit or whatever.
Future Shane.
Yeah, I was completely invisible. And I was totally fine with that, by the way. I really have no interest in being on camera at all. I know that may come as a shock to some people. I would love to go back to a job.
Good job.
Yeah, I know. But I don't have a choice. If I could afford to pay somebody to host this, I would. But I would love to go back to just being on the sidelines and being in the background and letting other people do this stuff. I would. I felt that way all the time. I've never changed from that. But unfortunately, I don't have the money running Sifted to hire hosts and things like that. So I've got to do it. Hopefully, it hasn't been too awful for you guys. You guys are here watching our live stream, and I appreciate it very much. Some more housekeeping for this week before we get going with the show proper. The most important thing right now is go ask a question for Pactor Factor. Right now. Go to your browser, open a new tab, either go to sifted.net, you can't miss it, where you need to ask a question. You can go to youtube.com/siftedgames and click on the community tab, and there's a post there for you to ask questions. You can go on Twitter @siftedgames, and one of the very last tweets that we've sent out is a call for questions. Please go and ask questions for Pactor Factor. I checked this morning, we had 4. 4! We shoot tomorrow morning. That's not enough. And I mentioned this in Ask Shane Anything, the last episode we posted on Friday. We need more engagement from you guys. I hate to ask anything of you guys because you guys are already doing so much, supporting us financially and being here live on our stream. But we need more engagement. We need it for Pactor Factor. And I would like to do Ask Shane Anything every week. I would love to publish an episode of that every Friday. So you guys have something for the weekend, something that wraps up the week a little bit. But we need questions. So if you guys could go and ask questions for Pactor Factor, again, I shoot first thing in the morning tomorrow, and I have 4 questions right now. So we need 16 good ones. So if you guys could go and do that right now, I would really appreciate it. There's nothing more important for you to do right now than that. So if you could do that, that would be awesome. A couple more general housekeeping things. This week, a patent was uncovered, Matt, for a PlayStation controller that is affected by heat. And it may actually morph based upon the heat in your hands. How do you feel about that, Matt?
I feel like we're never going to see anything like that because it's stupid.
Yeah, it sounds like something that Sony's
a lot of stuff you just patent because you're like, oh, that could be a thing one day and we want to have that.
And we don't want somebody else to be able to take it.
Basically, it's like, this is something, it's not really anything, but Nintendo might make it something, so let's patent it. I think that's probably what's happening there.
If you think about it, though, Nintendo kind of already tried to do something like that with, what was it called? The vitality sensor?
The vitality sensor was sort of along the same lines. Yeah.
I think it was more about your heartbeat.
Yeah, I was checking your heartbeat and all that. But I'm sure it did body temperature as well. I don't think it would morph into anything.
No.
But the idea was, it was also for it was supposed to be an expansion, I'm sure, more of a Wii Fit thing. But I think they also talked about how it could monitor how afraid you were in a horror game like that.
It would affect the game.
That would not work out well for you with me. I guarantee.
They just have to start pouring on the jump scares for you.
or even as I'm like, you're gonna need a new metric on how annoyed I am. That's really
if they change the game for you, it would just be a jump scare every second and a half.
And I'm just like, okay, whatever. It'd be like that. I think it's a Far Side or something where it's 3 guys falling down a bottomless pit and they're all screaming. It's 2 hours later and they're just all sitting there bored. It's a bottomless pit. You're never going to hit the bottom. You're going to starve to death.
Yeah. Swan Senpai is asking, did Nintendo have a heart monitor? Yeah, it was called the Vitality Sensor. And it was just like a hospital thing.
Yeah, it was just a finger
clicked on your finger,
yeah.
just like if you're in the hospital. And it just measured your heartbeat. And the idea was that as your heartbeat went up or down, it would affect what was happening inside the game. And it just never came to
It made
fruition.
more sense when they thought that they were going to lean hard into the Wii Fit stuff. And they just never really did that. It would probably have worked pretty well with Ring Fit. Like that would be a good kind of expansion content for Ring Fit.
You're right though. That was kind of Nintendo's chance to roll it out, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it still said no. So my guess is the Vitality Sensor
It's just
is dead.
Yeah, I mean definitely, but it's a rare example of Nintendo killing something but like showing it. Normally you never see Nintendo hardware unless they are sure this is a thing that's happening.
Yeah.
And that was an unusual occurrence. That's why everybody remembers it mainly, I think, is because it's one of the few times Nintendo's shown hardware and not released it.
Well, they also showed it at a press conference.
Right.
It wasn't like some little thing they showed in a direct or whatever. They showed it in a live press conference. Was that E3 or GDC?
I want to say that was E3.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I want to say Iwata had that on his finger at some point. I think that was an E3 presentation, if I remember right.
Yep. So anyway,
it was probably that same one with Wii Music and all. That was the year they were doing all that weird stuff.
Yeah. There are shades of that for sure in this patent from PlayStation. I see Eric Cartman has saying, I would love a daily Ask Shane Anything. Interesting anecdote. One of the big reasons I am in this industry was back in the days of IGN64.com, which I will fully admit, total inspiration for why I'm sitting here right now. Matt and Pear running IGN64.com. They had a daily mailbag there. And I was in that mailbag at least 2 days a week, just asking questions of Matt Casamassina. I would love to do something like that. He had fun with it too. He was an insider, obviously. He would hide stuff that he was learning from developers and publishers on the webpage. He would make the text the same exact color as the webpage. And so if you went and highlighted it, you could find these secret messages from Matt in his mailbag articles. And you just got to know him really well, and IGN from that. I would love to do something like that. But again, it's all about engagement. We have to have people who want to engage with these shows, or we just can't do them. Toast9, Shane Terrifier 2 is on Amazon Prime. I have discovered that. In fact, your buddy, fellow sifter, JM Rain, sent me a DM on Facebook letting me know, and I watched it. I don't know if this is the right place to talk about it. Maybe in the Q&A at the end of the show. But I have watched it now. And we're going to talk about another movie in just a minute that we also watched this week. So anyway, you're right. There's shades of the Vitality Sensor in this controller. I agree with you. It'll probably never, ever launch. Another development this week, Xbox has decided to block emulators from running on its hardware. You may not think that this is a big deal, but what's kind of happened with the Xbox Series S is that it has been kind of put on a pedestal as this awesome emulation machine. And because it's so cheap, a lot of people have jumped on, because not only was it, I guess, past tense now.
Well, you can still make it work with the developer mode.
Right.
Which, if you're putting emulators on the thing, you already know how to do that.
How do you do that?
I mean, you basically have to use homebrew stuff with a USB stick to kind of get into the system software and make it do what you want.
Yeah.
It's not a hard.
So if you're going to use the mod for emulation,
you probably already know how to do that. It's a pretty basic thing. You're already putting things on the hard drive that aren't supposed to be on the hard drive, so you're already kind of in there. But it's just a thing where it's it adds another step, and it makes Microsoft look like they're doing something about it. It's probably. I mean, they know this isn't really going to stop anybody who wants to do that. It's just they have to look like they're
trying.
They're trying. So because probably from Nintendo.
I mean, they could have stopped it from working in developer mode too.
They could have, but they didn't.
Right, and which shows, to your point, what you were just saying. They're just trying to make it look like they care.
Make it look, and there's an element of if you're hacking into developer mode, you've already violated the warranty, and we don't have to worry about you because you're not a customer, and you're technically, it's that kind of thing. So it kind of frees them of responsibility to anybody who's doing that.
Yeah. And people were pretty salty about it. I think once they got the details, they felt a little better about it, though. Modern Vintage Gamer, who is someone that we curate on Sifted all the time because he's awesome and he does a great job on retro games content, he was a big proponent of the Xbox Series S as an emulation machine. And he also did a video that you can also find on Sifted right now. We've curated it that explains kind of his perspective on it now. And he also is kind of falls in line with what Matt said. He's like, it's just an extra hoop you have to jump through, not that big of a deal. If you're already doing the emulation thing, you're already going to know how developer mode works. So Microsoft had some excuse about it's always been in our terms of service. We've just decided to enforce them the way we should be enforcing them.
It took you 3 years.
I do wonder what was the final tipping point to make Microsoft.
I don't know. They say that Nintendo didn't have anything to do with it, but I don't know if I buy that. They have a working relationship. They talk to each other. Yeah. Come on.
That'd be my guess, too. Yep. So...
Don't believe everything a mega corporation says to you, kids.
Yeah. So if you were in the market for an Xbox Series S for this very purpose, this shouldn't dissuade you from getting the Series S. If you're going to learn how to use it as a homebrew console...
you're still going to be
able to use it. Yep. Next up...
For not really that much more than a Raspberry Pi would cost you now.
Yeah, it's true. Yep.
The prices on those are going way up.
Yeah. Why is that? Just
partly the
shortage?
chip thing, yeah, but also just demand as well.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I got one for my friend like in early 2021, and it was like $89 for the kit. That same kit's $165 now.
Jeez.
Like it includes a little more memory, but like it's not $100 jump. Like it's just demand and shortages. It's getting better, but for a while they're going for $200, $250.
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's weird. It's weird the things that kind of fluctuate up and down. But like, yeah, for a while everybody was into that. Emulation's a big deal now.
It is. Graphics cards are back to MSRP, by the way. Just so you know.
Yeah.
If you've been shopping for one, you've been waiting for the prices to come down. They are now finally at MSRP. What they're supposed to be sold for, you can actually buy graphics cards at that price now, which is a big deal.
The Abrams says also there was an original Xbox emulator finally released, so that might have been part of that too.
That might have had something to do with it. Yep. Although...
Yeah. I mean, also, who cares? I was like, what, you're afraid somebody's going to play Nightcaster again? Like, come on.
You're going to lose a penny from Nightcaster?
Oh, no. Somebody's playing an illegal copy of Azuric.
Right.
Like,
man, that launch lineup was weak. So anyway, yeah, if you're looking to emulate on an Xbox, it's really not that big a deal. It's just a smaller hoop to jump through. In other news, this week, worldwide PC shipments flatlined. Like, the PC market right now is in a free fall. Not just PC, though, also Macs. Apple's sales of Macs have fallen 40% year over year. 40%.
That's a lot.
And what I think is happening is that everybody bought a PC during the pandemic.
Some of that. It's also like a lot of people doing all their work on tablets now, because you can hook them up to keyboards and plug them into workstations. Like, you know, there's I know several people that don't.
It's a Steam Deck that's taking all the sales.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, some of that.
Yeah.
There's some of that. Certainly, gaming laptops I think have probably taken a hit from the Steam Deck. I would think.
I have no interest in ever owning a gaming laptop.
I have one, but it's because I got an extra one. Like basically, my brother-in-law had an extra one. He's like, "You want it?" I'm like, "Sure."
They're so heavy. They're so hot.
Yeah, this one's not that heavy, but it does run very hot.
Yeah.
But it can play. It's not. Again, it's not very. It's kind of like having a portable gaming system where it's like, why would I play anything on this one? I can just go in the other room or wait a little while. But I played like SWTOR on a game. I bought a gaming laptop to play SWTOR when I went home the year that launched. And I played that like remotely a fair amount when I was really into that game. But yeah, I don't really gaming laptops are. I mean, I'm impressed by some of the stuff they can do now, but like, yeah, not for me. I'm a desktop kid.
Yeah, I'm a PC guy. My wife has a Mac, but I'm PC all the way.
Yeah, I have a MacBook that I use for everything that isn't gaming. Like that's my daily
driver.
Email, business, writing,
your
video, everything. I only use the PC for games.
No,
that's it.
I'm PC all the way. Not Sir says those Macs are really expensive. They are.
Oh yeah, very expensive.
They are really expensive.
So you don't want to get one. My MacBook's not that old. I want to say it's 5 or 6 years old, and the one it replaced was like 11 years old. I mean, they last a while usually. Although this one is, I think this one might be running out of steam. It's got a swollen battery, and like it's starting to get.
Yeah, I don't think you have to upgrade your PC as often as you used to.
The M key doesn't really work anymore, so there's a lot of M typos when I'm sending people messages. So I'll probably have to replace that. And it's like the keys are like wearing, the letters have all worn off the keys and stuff. And other people that have like I have a MacBook that's the same age as mine. I'm like, yeah, well, I don't know. I sweat acid apparently. I don't know.
It just wears the stuff off the keys. Esmond says, same here in South America. It makes no sense to buy a Mac here. It's cheaper to travel to the U.S. and buy the thing there.
Yeah, I believe that.
That's crazy.
What you got to do is make friends with someone who works at Apple and get their employee discount. That's the trick.
Tori Until, thank you for Twitch Prime.
That's the pro gamer move.
Yeah. Cinetike says, if you buy a GPU, don't get one with 8 gigabytes. You got to go for more. We've seen lots of problems already in recent games. Is that true?
Yeah, you definitely want a 16 gigabyte
GPU
VRAM. Yeah,
really?
For sure.
They're so much more expensive.
They are, but because they know. No, 16. A lot of games, especially the higher end games now, are just going to assume you have 16, and they'll run on 8.
That's discouraging.
But
that's someone who's shopping for a graphics card right now. That's discouraging.
No, I would go 16, no question.
Oh wow, maybe I'm not shopping for a new GPU. I can't afford that. All right, we'll see.
I mean, there's people I'm sure it doesn't make sense, but like. Part of the problem is like like Cinetike saying they've seen problem. It's not like it's not going to look as good. It's like some of them are crashing. They don't work right.
Yeah.
So like and that's just going to get worse. I think they've actually extended it through 8 gigs for a pretty long time. Like,
oh really?
Yeah, I think they've held on to that for a while. And like you're starting to see the new stuff and the new sizes and the new like it's just not sustainable anymore. It can't hold all that.
That sucks.
There probably are tricks.
Time Zini, I was looking at a new 4070 since it seems like it's going to be the reasonable price, but I think it's only 12 gigabytes.
12 is probably fine. Like it's the 8 that seems to be the limiting factor now.
Something to keep in mind.
And that's only with certain games, so it's not like you really need to go crazy with it. But like, and Cinetike also notes that AMD has good offerings at 16. Whereas the NVIDIA, you got to go much higher on the chain to get to the 16.
So price-wise,
AMD you'll get a lower priced card with 16 from AMD.
Gotcha.
And NVIDIA, but again, NVIDIA has the bells and whistles everybody's excited about now, like with the the path casting from
the new overdrive
mode from
launched.
Cyberpunk, which is the path. That's the path casting stuff.
Yep.
Path ray. No, it's
not ray tracing.
It's path tracing.
Path tracing. Yeah.
Which I loaded.
All that new hot stuff is coming from NVIDIA.
I loaded that up right before the show, and it looks amazing.
DLSS.
Yeah, DLSS is the trick there, because like you turn DLSS off on this thing, you're getting like 15 frames a second. Like
just bring your PC to its knees.
The DLSS stuff, especially the 3.0 and the 40 series, is basically magic.
Yeah.
And they even Cyberpunk had some DLSS flaws. I loaded up last week, and like there's some issues where like the headlight of the motorcycle on a wet, dark freeway at night, you could see sort of on the edge of the beam where it was sort of interpolating stuff.
Right.
And that's gone now.
Oh wow!
After that the update, it's impressive.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Cinetike saying ray tracing overdrive mode is like 20 FPS with a 4090. No, it's like 60. Like it's running real well. It's super playable. And I put it to.
It's funny how people now are like, 60. Like 60 used to be like the holy grail.
60 was the goal, yeah. But overdrive on mine, I didn't do a frame rate count yet, but like it is super playable. It's absolutely fine. It's got DLSS on, so it's like I think it was running a pretty steady 60. I didn't notice any real drops.
I believe it. Yep.
Impressive tech.
PC shipments right now are terrible. The PC market is kind of flatlining. I don't know what's going to fix it, because PCs last longer now than they used to. Like,
I think part of it might also be like the shortages were such a problem that everybody had different solutions.
That could be.
So people just sort of out of the market for a while.
That could be, yeah. Not looking good for the PC market right now. Next, something we don't talk about that often on GameFace, which is esports. But there's a story going around the industry right now that's just too juicy to not at least address here in housekeeping. And that is that Faze Clan, which was the first esports organization to go public on the stock exchange, has basically went completely belly up. Mm-hmm. It is now in penny stock status. Don't forget that at the Super Bowl this year, Snoop Dogg wore like a big like Faze Clan thing, like on stage. He had just signed on. He dropped Faze Clan this week.
Yeah,
he sold all his shares for like a penny.
It's beyond time to admit that there is no money in esports.
I think people have finally figured it out. And now if you go to Vegas and you see all these esports palaces that they built there, like my friends will go to Vegas.
Like the arenas and things, yeah.
And they'll text me and they'll be like, hey, like I'm here with my sons or whatever, or my son and his best friend, and we want to go to like do the esports stuff here. And I'm like, bro, don't.
No, there's nothing to do.
It's nothing to do. But it's funny that like the marketing worked. people from outside of Vegas who go there think that it's like this mecca for esports, and you can go there and do all this cool stuff. And as it turned
a lot
out,
of the marketing was just for investors.
yeah.
Like, and they got a lot of it. Like, after a while, everyone finally realized that, like, oh, there's no actual revenue stream here.
Yeah.
Like, where does the money come from?
Yeah.
Nowhere. It doesn't. It's investors and sponsors just throwing money in a hole. Like, there's never any return on it.
It's been the eternal question in the games industry for at least 6 years now. How can you make content around esports that people will watch and care about? How can you make money off of esports in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, and Eric Cartman has notes that Evo is kicking, but Evo's kicking because A, it's corporate owned, and B, Evo doesn't try to be more than it is.
Well, Evo Japan just had a bunch of problems, actually.
Yeah, Evo Japan didn't go, but
It was
maybe
like a mess.
Vegas Evo is going to be the same old, same old. It's going to be in the Mandalay Bay. They have enough money from sponsors, and the sponsors are basically the companies that make the games because they know that Evo is a good promotional tool to get people excited about those games who are going to buy and play the games. They are not. Evo is not under any kind of delusion that they are going to reach a mainstream audience anymore.
Yeah,
they had their couple years on ESPN where they tried.
Yeah,
that was the, best,
no
and
cared.
it didn't work. No one cared. Yeah, that is not a thing anyone's going to break out of because it's not a universally identified thing. And I think fighting games are the closest anyone was ever going to get to that because fighting games are the easiest to understand.
Everyone gets it. Yep.
All you need to know is what a fight is.
I can't explain League of Legends to a lot of y'all.
No.
I can imagine trying to explain it to my mom or somebody.
I don't know what the hell I'm looking at half the time.
Yeah,
like,
it's crazy.
and I know games pretty well, but
Yeah.
I'm just like, no, I don't understand. I mean, I know the terminology. I've tried to understand what I'm looking at.
A lot of people have.
And it's just, it's like, A, I don't understand what's happening or the mechanics of why they're doing what they're doing, and B, I don't care.
Caring is the important part.
I don't care who can play a video game better than me. Certainly if I'm not in the game.
Yeah. Faze Clan has also become really diluted. Like, if you play games online, any game, like I play Rocket League, I play Call of Duty, it's hard to join a match without somebody having Faze in their username. And chances are, all of them are fake. They're not really in Faze Clan.
Of course not.
But there's literally thousands of people that have Faze in their username online.
It's too bad this isn't a big enough story to be an actual topic because it's begging for the lower third unfazed.
It really is, yeah. So it's like, I play people and I whoop their ass. I'm like, oh, you're Faze Clan? Okay. Like, and that does a disservice to the real Faze Clan. Because it's supposed to be this lofty organization with the best players in the world. And as it turns out, when everybody is calling themselves Faze Clan and they suck, people are like, well, why would I put money in Faze? I'm better than you. And you're supposed to be this esports guy, even though they're not. Like, there's nothing you can do about it either. If you're Faze Clan, like, you can't keep people from creating usernames with your name in it.
I mean, it's like someone showing up to a pickup game with a Bulls jersey on.
Right.
It's like everyone knows you're not playing a Chicago Bulls player.
Yeah.
I guess that's fine.
Yeah.
But like, that's basically what it is.
Yeah. Same
it's
thing.
just, but like, the thing is, like, online, someone can like pretend and like insist and whereas like on the court, everyone knows you are not.
Yeah.
From the Bulls. Yeah. It's a different world. It's a different.
And it makes you look differently at the Bulls or Faze Clan, and that's what's happened. Like, the value of the brand has just hit rock bottom.
Right.
It's probably going to dissolve. I mean, they're a penny stock right now.
People find that stuff annoying more than anything else. It seems like, who cares? Like,
I mean, it was a big deal though, man. Like, a lot of people, I mean, their IPO went very, very well. Like, people invested in it out of the gate.
Oh, for a long time, because I mean, I've insisted for a long time that there is no money to be had in this. We've
been saying it on
no one has
GameFace
ever figured out how to make any money off this, and people would always be like, "Oh, but Faze Clan."
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, let's see how long that lasts.
Bought the stock at IPO and then just slowly sold it.
I mean,
all
you
off.
can fool some of the people all the time.
Yeah.
But like,
not me.
Wait, eventually they'll figure it out.
Yep.
And
exactly.
they did. So.
Yeah. I hate that broy gamer phase with marketing from Not Circ. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like, there's this new sports like content conglomerate called Barstool.
Oh, that's been around forever.
I mean,
I know it's
been around
up
forever, but it's just recently blown up, and they're kind of like the meatheads. Like,
oh yeah, they are. It's
kind of like
obnoxious.
the frat house of like sports content. I hate it.
It's like we managed to make sports content even more obnoxious and exclusionary and weirdly gatekeeping.
I hate Barstool. I never watch any of their stuff.
They're terrible.
But they have blown up for whatever reason, and it'll be interesting to see if they can keep their momentum going as well. But I think they're already.
I'm gonna go with no.
They're kind of golden already, though. They found like big investors to invest in them.
Yeah, we'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah, we'll see.
Because the thing about investors, they expect a return.
They do.
So.
Yeah. And I mean, even The Athletic, which is, I don't want to get on too much of a tangent here, but The Athletic is this other like subscription-supported sports information network. They're struggling. Like, and their subs now are down to like $1 a month, and they still can't get people to subscribe. So subscriptions in general are just really doing bad right now. Like, I left Netflix last month. I never thought I'd leave Netflix. I've been a member for 18 years, and I left last month. I don't miss it. I got rid of it, and I don't miss it. I'm like, why was I paying $16 a month to these people, and I would hardly use it? And finally, I'm just like, I'm going to cut it. If I miss it, I'll get it back. And a lot of people are doing that with subscriptions right now. We're hurting. COVID killed us. Netflix is hurting. They're bleeding subscribers, like lots of subscription services.
I still have Netflix, but like just mostly for the British baking show.
Well, I'm like thinking, I'm like, what is going to make me come back? Probably the next season of The Witcher. I'll get it for a month or two to watch that.
Yeah, there's one more Henry Cavill season. That's right.
Sex, Love, and Robots, stuff like that. Black Mirror. When those things come back,
they do Black Mirror again.
When those things come back, I'll get it for a month.
What was the interactive Black Mirror? Remember that special they did that was like a choose your own adventure thing? What was that called?
I don't remember what it was called.
I can't remember.
I know what you're talking about.
Someone mentioned something, made me think of that. I'm like, oh, it was like that Black Mirror thing. What was it called? I'm like, I couldn't. It was like Bandersnatch or something like that.
Exactly
was that what
something
it was?
Like that, Boonderslatch or something.
Yeah,
it wasn't very good though.
Bandersnatch.
Yeah. Or Eve Demon. The only sub VOD service that I know that's profitable is Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
Apple YouTube TV is doing really well. They just bought NFL Sunday Ticket, and they announced the prices for that today. It's like $450.
Yep. I'm amazed. I was always amazed by how much Red Zone costs and everything.
Well, Red Zone, I can
all the
get
DirecTV stuff.
Red Zone, I could get, and I'm wondering if they'll even have it now. $10 a month during football season.
Oh, okay.
And that's fine. Like, it just,
because Lawrence used to pay obscene amounts of money for the full.
The Sunday ticket, where you can choose to watch every game, and like that's $400 and some dollars on YouTube TV. And what they should have done is offered team-specific packages. I should be able to pay $100 and get every Steelers game. Like, I don't want to watch every Buffalo Bills game or every Bengals game. I just want to watch the Steelers in California. $100, I'll pay you that. I'm not paying $400 to watch a bunch of games I don't care about when I can get Red Zone Channel for $10. Anyway, I don't want to talk about this. Subscription services are in a flux right now. Like, it's going to be interesting to see when it all shakes out who survives. I think
you know where the real I know there's some stuff like this, but you know where the real like money might be here? Make an app that helps you manage and schedule all your streaming service purchases.
They exist already.
They exist, but I mean, I'm something really robust and like okay, I want Peacock when the new season of
and it just automatically you go and set it up in a
like
grid
a keychain app for like when the new season of Witcher comes out, I want to be able to watch that on Netflix, and when the new that Ryan Johnson mystery show, when the next season of that comes out on Peacock, that's the only time I will ever consider giving money to Peacock. Things like that. I like something where you can almost like schedule it out. But again, at that point, you're already paying more and doing more work than if you just subscribe to cable. Like streaming services have come all the way back around, and they're more trouble than cable was.
It is. Yep.
So
next, obviously, The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom is now just about a month away, which is amazing. But something happened, and an art book for the game was leaked.
Months ago.
Yeah.
This was a long time ago.
And Nintendo has just now decided to go after the person who leaked the art book. That just seems so petty.
Yeah, take it down makes sense.
Yeah.
Like a cease and desist on the...
It's too late, though. Once it's out there already.
But yeah, they're just going after the person now, which is like,
just
okay.
Like, why? Nintendo it seems like it takes one step forward and two steps back pretty consistently. It can just never be on this consistently upward trajectory where it understands its fans and does right by its fans. Look, I'm not saying that like the person who scanned the art book and put it up online should have the right to do so. No. I just think that it's pointless to...
Yeah, and it's a completely victimless crime.
Yeah.
Like, if you even want to call it that. Like,
yeah, because I started looking through some of the scans and I'm like, there's really nothing spoilery in here. No, like, there's nothing that spoils the plot.
Also, hey, if you wanted to control the narrative, maybe you should have showed the fucking game a couple of times. Like, who can blame Zelda fans and Nintendo fans for doing shit like that when Nintendo won't fucking talk to them?
Yeah. They cut them off and don't give them.
Like,
what
we're just not going to show this game until like 3 months before. I mean, I don't care about that. I understand like what the plan is there, but like there's people like hungry for this shit, and of course you put that art book out early, or if somebody gets hold of that early, yeah, it's going to happen.
Yeah. Yep. Pot F2 says spoiling a video game shouldn't be illegal. LOL. I'd agree with that.
I mean, do the takedown, deal with the copyright issue, but like, it doesn't, like, you're not going to stop this from happening from anyone. Like,
how can you stop people from scanning books and magazines? You can't. There's nothing you can do. Just let it happen and let it go.
Sell it digitally and beat them to it.
Yeah.
That's really the only thing you do.
They should have just put it up online as a PDF.
That was, the iTunes store proved that the way to combat piracy is to make
stuff available.
Make the legal way to get things easier.
Yeah. And at a reasonable price.
Yeah.
It's like suddenly, if people could pay $1 for a song, they weren't stealing music anymore.
Yeah. They could just click, you got it.
Yeah.
A lot easier than going through the hoops that it took to get a downloaded MP3 by then.
Yep. Absolutely true.
So yeah, it's all very silly.
It really doesn't make any sense.
And it's like I've followed some of the leaks on all that. I don't have the book or anything, but I looked at when people would talk about it. I'm like, okay, it still doesn't really tell me anything.
No,
like
there's no spoilers in there.
Not really.
I didn't see any.
I mean, there's pictures of locations, I guess,
and like armor.
But what does that tell you really?
I don't know. I don't know what Nintendo was thinking. I think it was a bad.
I mean, even with that book out there, all the stuff in this little gameplay trailer, it was all new.
Yeah.
Nobody knew any of this stuff.
People were still, I mean, it still did like 10 million views.
Yeah.
It didn't hurt you at all.
You're fine, guys. It's going to sell more. Yeah. It's going to make more money than God. Like, you're fine. Like,
well, now their new benchmark for money is films.
No, I mean, I've seen that, but it's like, no, because they're going to make way more money from the games than they're going to make from the films. Like, the films are great publicity, but I promise you to get a bigger cut of a game sale than of a ticket sale.
Oh, yeah, the cut for sure. Swan Senpai says Sony started delaying their art books for this reason.
Yeah. I mean, generally, you would want the art book out alongside the product,
it's not ideal.
or after. Like this, the Marvel art books come out, I think, either the same week as the movie or a little bit after. Because why would you? I mean, some of that just indicates that they'd intended to release this earlier than they did, because sometimes you just can't change the publishing schedule or the release schedule of whatever, because things work the way they work in the distribution warehouses. That happened with Transformers. A bunch of Rise of the Beast stuff came out early because that was supposed to come out a year ago, and they can only push that so far. It's just nature of how it is, but like this was going to happen. This would have happened if this had come out like the day the game came out too. Like, would you still sue come after the guy that way? Maybe. They're Nintendo, but like it's so unimportant. And like, I bet half the people who now know that art book leaked online only know because of this story.
Yeah, right, because Nintendo went after
it was not exactly on CNN.
Now suddenly people are Googling it, trying to find
where do I get that before they take it down? Yeah, it's exactly.
It's hilarious. It's true.
They just Streisand affected it, basically.
Absolutely. Another story that just came out today is that Dreams, the PlayStation exclusive game tool where you can build your own games, is finally coming to an end after a 4-year run. In September, they will shut it down for good. I don't understand why you really need to shut it down. Well,
they're not shutting it down.
Oh, they're not?
No, they're moving it to another server and changing some of the rules, basically, of like how much you can store and things like that, because they're not going to actively update it anymore. They're not going to do like community events anymore. But starting in September, you'll still be able to make things.
Oh, you will?
Yeah, they're doing a last update to the creation tools and all that stuff, and changing a bit of how the sound sampling works, and a little bit. Just basically, they're changing things so you don't need to be online or do the community features to do things. So like, something about sound sampling or recording your own sounds. You don't have to upload them online before you can work with them anymore, because that won't really be a thing anymore, because they're not actively giving you server space for that. There's going to be a 5 gigabyte storage limit, but it only applies to stuff after that final update. So if you have more, all your stuff that you've already made does not count towards that limit. And you can still make things and share them and do all that. They're also changing some of the trophies that require the community interaction to no longer require community interaction.
Oh, that's good.
So, like, instead of visiting someone's home space, you just need to, like, look at someone's profile now to get that trophy.
Okay.
But Dreams will still be functional. You will still be able to make things and share them and publish them and all that. You're just not going to update it anymore.
No new tools or no new assets.
No new tools, no new assets. No more community days or like game jam like they used to do. They used to do tons of stuff like that.
They did a lot of streams.
So basically, they're saying like, okay, the game still works. You can still make stuff and upload everything, but it's all up to you guys now. Like it's no longer a living updating game, a tool set. This is what it is. Dreams will be. It's done. Like, this is what it is. This is what you have to work with. You can still go nuts and make whatever you want, but it's no longer going to keep getting new content from the devs.
And no one's complaining, by the way. They've supported this game plenty long enough.
Well, no, there's plenty of people complaining.
Really?
Because there's a bunch of people there. I saw this this morning, and like, there's a bunch of people who are mad because they're like, we would have paid a subscription for this. Why didn't you even try to save it? Kind of thing. And of course,
because they know how many people are using it.
Right. There's less than 1,000 daily users, and that's for free.
Yeah.
And if you like switch it to like, pay even like $10, like, you're gonna get a fraction of that. It's not gonna be enough to sustain something like this.
Yeah.
This was a pretty sizable team working on this, and some of the team is already leaving and moving on to the next thing.
Yeah. I want to see what Media Molecule is going to do next.
Absolutely.
I'm ready for what's next.
They supported this way longer than I ever thought they would.
I agree.
So
I don't. Anyone who's complaining, they're sour grapes. Like,
yeah, I think this is.
They have the data.
This is entirely fine. You're still gonna be able to make stuff. People are still gonna be able to publish stuff. It'll still be a living community, a fairly small one, but it's still gonna be there. Mm-hmm. It's just they're not gonna update anymore. And they're going through a lot of trouble to do this server migration and put everything in the place where it can still function and still be used and still be played with, and none of it's going to shut down, because it's very important to Media Molecule that everything people have made still gets archived and survived too. Mm-hmm. Like, they're being very conscientious about it.
Yeah. So they're handling things the right way.
I think so.
No,
yeah.
I'm not begrudging them at all. And then the final piece of housekeeping for today, for this week's show, is that American McGee announced this morning that he is retiring from game development. So,
what was the last thing he made?
Right. Well, so what happened was yesterday he got news that EA had rejected his plans for the next Alice game.
3, yeah.
He had Patreon funded the design doc, which, I mean, that's a little weird to me, but he had went to Patreon and had people fund him to create the design doc for the next Alice game. He submitted it to EA. EA rejected it, and that was yesterday. And then this morning, he made the announcement that he won't be developing games anymore. And you're right, it has been quite a while since he's made anything. I am friends with him on Facebook. And he doesn't even really talk about games or game development anymore. I was kind of surprised he had even tried to get Alice made, honestly. It didn't seem like it was still a part of his kind of daily life.
No, I mean, it was the thing he's most known for, and
those games were okay.
I mean, this is saying that Alice Madness Returns is the last thing he made, which is 2011, game wise.
Yeah, it's been a decade.
Canceled Alice Asylum. Again, that's probably part of it is like Asylum stories are not really in right now.
Yeah.
And there was also Oz Adventures, which I'm sure was a darker, earlier take on Wizard of Oz is already kind of is that.
Yeah.
Like,
Black Sierra is saying, hasn't he retired before? I don't think he's ever announced.
I don't think he's ever said he retired, but like, what's the functional difference at this point? He hasn't made a game in 12
over
years.
a decade. Yeah.
So like, and the game before that, when he did with creative director on Grimm, which I don't even remember. And before that, he was a creative director on Bad Day LA, which is one of the worst things I've ever played.
Yeah.
So,
not exactly a.
I like Scrapland. Scrapland was good.
Bachby says the Alice game was the first game I reviewed for an official outlet. So you will always remember it. That's exactly how it works.
That's Grandia 2 for me.
Mine was Lego Rock Raiders. I mean, that was the first one I had reviewed for GameSpot. I had reviewed like N64 and Dreamcast stuff on my own site before ever I got my job at GameSpot back in 2000. But anyway, that's it for housekeeping. I think you guys are good in chat. I don't see anything crazy going on in here. I think we're ready to kick off the show proper. I'll give you one guess what we're going to discuss first on today's show. The Super Mario Brothers movie, which I just saw on Sunday. I went on Easter Sunday, went around 4 p.m., theater packed still.
Yeah, I figured that would be, so that's why I saw it yesterday.
I went to Century City 15, which is a gigantic mall here. And there were shows.
A rather nice mall that, in a certain light in the evening, kind of looks like Starfleet headquarters.
A little bit.
Yeah, there's angles.
It's the nicest mall in LA.
It is nice.
It's like got all the high-end stores or whatever. And the theaters are nice too. But they had that airing every 30 minutes. So they had it in 3 different theaters, and it's just rolling.
Well, you will recall that since the first teaser for this thing hit, I've been saying this movie's going to make $1 billion easy. Like,
wait, actually, before we get going, we do have one thing that we have to take care of.
Oh, right.
We need to hear from our sponsors. LS Cream is a fine cream liqueur created by fellow gamer and sifter Stevens Charles. It's inspired by an ancestral recipe from Haiti called Cray Mass.
and a double gold winner for its original taste at the New York Wine and Spirit International Competition. Ellis Cream can be enjoyed on the rocks or as a mixer for drinks with its rich blend of fresh cream and neutral grain spirits with notes of coconut, vanilla, cinnamon, and nutmeg. It's great in coffee or to make espresso martinis. To learn more, discover amazing drink recipes, or to track down your own bottle using a handy store locator, head to creamls.com. That's creamls.com.
If you can't tell from the ad, Ellis Cream is one of those liqueurs you can get creative with. You can use it in so many different things. There's all kinds of recipes out there. You can also just search the internet for any recipe that uses Bailey's Irish Cream, and it's a nice fill-in for that. In fact, it's better than Bailey's if you ask me. So I highly recommend checking it out. Go to creamls.com. There's a store locator there where you can find how to buy it. And just above all, as I say every week, support your fellow sifter, support your fellow gamers. Okay. Now, let's get on with the discussion of the Super Mario Brothers movie. So yeah, I went to a theater, and Matt, they had the whole place was just Super Mario Brothers, and I went to showing at 350, sold out. Like every show, it's setting records. Did it have the best opening weekend for any animated movie ever?
Biggest opening for any animated movie of all time.
Did you see this coming? We both thought it was going to be successful, but
I thought it certainly had potential for it. I mean, $1 billion is not nothing. You know, I'm not.
That's one way to put it.
And now we're at a point where where analysts are predicting that if it holds, we'll see what it does second weekend. If it holds, you're probably looking at the biggest animated film of all time, surpassing, Frozen 2.
It beat Frozen 2's opening weekend.
Frozen 2 is the top grossing animated film of all time, unless you count the Lion King remake, which is a little more, $1.6 billion, I think.
Yeah.
Mario, if it holds the second weekend, will probably beat that. And with home video sales and rentals, it has the potential to pull in $3.5 billion.
Wow.
So
yes. Wait, you're saying earlier that it's better to make a video game? Yes,
because Nintendo is not going to get the slice.
What do you think they make off of each?
Well, half of that goes to. Well, I don't think they make anything off ticket sales specifically.
Oh, really?
I think they probably get a cut of the gross revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Half goes to the theaters, and then you have to pay back the budget, which is probably in the 150, 170 million range for a big CG animated thing like this. I would think they'd be up there.
That's insane. Oh my god!
And I'll double check, but it's movie budget. But basically, the rule of thumb in movies is you have to double your budget to even begin making profit, which they will. They've already done that, pretty much. But the trick is you spend all the money you spend on the movie, and then you basically spend that same amount of money again on marketing, and then you also factor in how much money you're losing to distribution and theater cut, which is bigger at the beginning of the release than it is later. You've only got a 6-week run most of the time. Mario is actually hitting VOD rental in 32 days after release, which is pretty standard for kids' movies.
That almost sounds stupid.
No, because once you're in the late 5th and 6th weeks, you are generally out of steam. And the people who haven't seen it yet are not going to see it in a theater.
Now, here's one thing.
A lot of movies are doing that now.
So on my Twitter feed, I'm at Dinfire on Twitter. I put up a poll. And I was on my way. I was actually in the theater when I put up the poll on Twitter. I was about to watch the film. And I just asked, Super Mario Brothers movie, did you like it? Yes, no, haven't seen it, won't see it. And literally only 2% said they didn't like it. Everyone else said that they liked it. But the crazy part of that poll was that 48% of you guys haven't seen it yet. So there's this gigantic market still waiting to go see.
There's a lot of home market for this. That's where a lot of the money will be made there.
I think those people are saying though that they'll go see it in the theater. I thought they just haven't yet. The 48%.
Well, you never know. Some people are saying that could mean either one.
Yeah,
a lot of people just don't see movies in theaters.
I meant it in the spirit of, are you going to go see it in the theater?
Yeah, that's not what.
You're right. They may have read it differently.
A lot of people, the people who chose that are both the people who haven't gotten to it yet and the people who are going to wait to watch it at home.
Yeah, which I typically do as well. Honestly.
But I mean, I would certainly. I was glad I saw this on the big screen just for the animation quality. I think a lot of the critical, the main, like the professional reviews, a lot of them said that the animation wasn't very good, and I'm like,
I thought it was great.
No, that was fine. That's the one thing I think is inarguable about it. It's illumination.
Yeah.
There's some shots of Luigi picking up his tools in this movie that look almost photoreal.
Yeah.
Somebody put some effort in. A lot of the character texture, the fabric texture. I mean, it's standard. It's what they all look like now, but it still looks good.
Yeah, I had no issue with how.
No, it looks great. I mean, what would you want? Oh, you want the fucking Saturday Supercade animation back? It's like I guarantee you don't want that. I watched some of those in preparation. Some of the old Mario stuff. Just like, oh boy. I mean.
I saw Polygon published an opinion piece where they tried to argue that the old Mario movie is better than this one.
I saw that today. It's dumb. It's mostly saying like it's wrong because it's written by basically a child who wasn't around to understand what was happening then.
Yeah.
As an old person, it's one. It annoyed me more in that sense because it's like. The argument was basically it was so that the '93 movie was so weird and original that at least it was made by people with passion who wanted to make something new and interesting and take it. And I'm like, well, no, it was. First off, everyone who made that movie hated each other so much they were drunk every day to just get through the day, and almost half the people on that cast and crew never spoke to each other again because they hated the experience so much. Bob Hoskins, when he was interviewed later on. When he was asked, what's the worst thing you were ever in? He said, Super Mario Brothers. What's the thing you regret most about your career? Super Mario Brothers. and was the worst experience you ever had making a movie? Super Mario Brothers. Yeah. He hated every minute of it.
Yeah.
And
the movie's abysmal.
It's terrible. And
There's no arguing.
And the thing is, like, it wasn't original. It wasn't daring. It wasn't risky because all it was doing was trying to be Batman.
It was the cheapest way you could approach that property.
Well, what the younger kids aren't understanding, like the people who wrote that article. That's what everyone thought nerd comic books, video game stuff had to be adapted. Everyone was trying to make a Tim Burton movie out of all the popular nerdy shit. Yeah. Like, so all of a sudden everything had to be dark and weird and twisted. That's that was the safest approach from a studio's point of view to make a Mario movie was to make it into a Tim Burton Super Mario Brothers. And that's what they did. Yeah. And it sucked.
It really did. It still does.
It's very.
It hasn't gotten any better with time.
It's very interesting here to see like this first part of 2023. The two big lessons have been complete opposite sides of the game spectrum. Last of Us and Mario have both taught the same lesson, which is like if you pick the right property, you don't need to change much.
I'm surprised at looking at our chat. So there's a lot of people saying they have no interest in going to see. Where were you guys when in my poll? Like. Literally 2% of respondents in the poll said they didn't like it.
A lot of people hate going to theaters.
Justin Horman, I won't see this in theaters. Barry Lomax, I'm going to see John Wick instead. I will not see it. I don't care.
I mean, John Wick is a better movie than this.
I'm waiting until I can rent it. We'll wait for Peacock folks. Cinetyke, I won't see it ever probably. Not interested.
If you don't care about Mario, you don't care about Mario.
Wow. That's really shocking to me. Do you really think it's like don't care about Mario?
Yeah, or just don't care about animated anything.
Or just don't go to the movies. I mean, honestly, I never go to the movies either. This is the first time I went to the theater since Top Gun.
Wow.
And I'll just say this, Matt. I was really disappointed in AMC. So I get there.
Join the club.
I know, join the club. But I go into the bathroom before I go into the movie. There's no soap in the bathrooms. There's no paper towels in the bath. It's so funny, Matt, how as soon as like the coast is clear and people aren't going to hold their feet to the fire on being safe with COVID anymore, they're just like, F it. We're not going to do anything. I was really, really disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that does vary by AMC theater. Like the one at the Grove is actually pretty good about that. But yeah, that Century City Theater has always been pretty sketchy.
I was like, really?
I mean, you're right that's got a lot of screens. It's in a good mall. It has a better IMAX screen, and it has for a long time. But it's a crappy theater. It's a bad theater.
Damn. Okay. As soon as it wasn't illegal for you to act like chuds, you decided to act like a chud.
I only go to that theater if something's playing there, like, and nowhere else. Like because sometimes like a Fathom Events thing, like a revival of something I want to see will be there. Like I think I saw Paranoia Agent there, or not Paranoia Agent, Perfect Blue there and stuff like that. But that's like. I won't go because that's pretty close to me too. Like that's not a hard drive to get over there. Yeah. It's probably close to you as well. But like, and I like going to that mall, but like I don't like that theater very much.
I was really shocked.
Honestly, if I'm gonna go to an opening night thing, it's probably gonna be Chinese theater. Partly because it's more centrally located for all the people I see the movies with, and also because
these comments are hilarious. By the way, here's one: God of Gamblers 33. Mario has one of the weakest stories. I want to see a Luigi's Mansion horror movie.
Well, you won't.
You might want to go see the movie.
There's elements in there, yeah. I mean, but it's
funny watching how people are writing it off.
Well, but if you've seen the trailer, you've seen pretty much all the Luigi's Mansion references, which is it shows him in
the part of the movie set in the mansion.
But like 3 seconds, like he goes in and a bunch of Shy Guys show up and that's it.
Is that really it?
Yeah.
Here's what
and that's not the mansion; it's a castle,
right? But it's
like,
the same.
It's a reference to Luigi's Mansion for sure.
This whole movie is like that. Anything that you're saying, like, I want to wait until this or that appear, it's in there already.
Right, but it's not a Luigi's Mansion movie. It's just like there's a reference to it. It's like if you want to, but again, you're not going to see. Nintendo's never going to make a horror movie. Like,
that's not
the closest you're going to get is, I mean, the closest you're going to get is what's in this one. There are a couple scenes with Luigi where I was like, okay, that's a little more intense than I thought they were going to get to, but like, okay.
Was it the 1993 movie from the Max Headroom people? Barry Gooster's asking.
That sounds familiar.
I didn't realize that there were Max Headroom people.
I mean, Max Headroom was made by a specific team of people, yeah. I believe that was the same director or something, yeah. That sounds right.
That SNL sketch with Pedro Pascal might have helped with the hype. That's from Andy T. Monahan. Pot F2, I don't like I don't either. And I probably wouldn't have gone to see this in the theater either unless I needed to talk about it on GameFace, honestly. I probably would have just waited.
I mean, the good news here is that like you've got all these people saying they don't like theaters and nobody wants me, and you're wrong, but okay. But like, didn't need them.
Yeah. Vortex Complex says, I don't want to be the only adult in the theater, LOL. I'll be honest with you, I was nervous about that too. Because I had to go by myself. My wife is out of town.
They don't send children alone to the theater anymore.
Right.
So
what I'm getting at is that you are not going to be the only adult. I will say this. You may be the only adult in the theater that does not have kids with them.
I wasn't.
Because you went with other adults.
Well, no, but there were a bunch of other adults with no kids.
I didn't see many.
I mean, this was a Monday afternoon, so it's
Sunday at 4 p.m. for me.
It was people trying to avoid showing to the kids.
That could be,
because that's what I was doing too. But like, I mean, there were some embarrassing Nintendo fans off on the left. Like when the Nintendo
logo
production logo came up, they're like, Nintendo. I'm like, okay, oh my god.
The whole theater cheered at the end of the movie.
And like when
I saw it,
I did. There was a kid on the far right who about halfway through the trailers goes, "Where's Mario?" I'm like, I get you, kid. I hear you. I know. I believe me. I don't need to see any of these again.
Textureless, haven't cared about Mario since the SNES. No interest in the movie. All these people are just haters. It's funny. I never realized that anybody didn't like Mario. How can you not like I can get okay, I mean, I'm not into platformers, so I don't play the games. How can you not like Mario?
I don't like Mario.
Really?
No, I think I've always thought Mario...
He's like the nicest person.
No, I've always thought Mario was creepy.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I've never... It was funny, people earlier in the chat, people was like, oh, he's supposed to be like 25 in this movie? I always thought... I never knew how old Mario was.
Miyamoto said he's 24 or 25.
Yeah, but I've always pictured him as older, in part because Lou fucking Albano played him in the cartoon, and Lou Albano was already like 45 or something.
Inside the context of this movie, it makes sense, though.
He's very clearly young.
Yeah.
He and Luigi
he's still living at home. He's trying to become successful so he can get his own life, blah, blah, blah. So that adds up for 24.
I just don't... I mean, I've never found him particularly compelling back in the old days, and then when it hit Mario 64... as you know, I like the mechanics of the games, and I like, except for Mario Sunshine, I don't like very much. But like the others, I enjoy. But the problem is, as soon as I know this is heresy, but as soon as Charles Martinet started doing his voice, and he started doing that, waha, oh, how, mamma mia,
he finally sounded like anything. He
all
never
this
really
shit
made sound before.
but all this stuff on the title, I have always found that incredibly creepy. Like I find the Martinet high pitched weird Mamma Mia thing to be like horrendously off-putting. Yeah. I hate it.
I do apologize, by the way. We can't show you any B-roll of this film because our show will get hacked with copyright strikes.
But like, it's just, I don't care about Mario very much. But I was interested in this because it's a big event in and like, I don't hate Mario. It's just not a property I'm interested in. I've always liked Sonic better. I'm not saying the Sonic movies are worth to go see anyway either. Although I will say, I think the Sonic movies started ahead of the game. No pun intended, because those characters are so well defined already, whereas Mario has to make it up.
I liked Mario way better than the Sonic movies. Way better, like double better than I like the Sonic movies. I thought it was way better.
I do not agree with that.
I
would give Sonic 2 a marginal advantage.
I quit watching the first Sonic movie about an hour and 10 minutes in. I watched 5 minutes of Sonic 2 and turned it off. I didn't think they were good at all. And I don't think this movie's great either, but I do think it's way better than the Sonic movies.
No, I don't really. No, I think the Sonic movies are probably better movies. I think the Mario movie is a better realization of the property.
I can understand that perspective.
In part because they don't really go outside the lines as much as because the Sonic movies introduced James Marsden and all these other characters to sort of support it, whereas Mario just commits to the bit and goes for it. I mean, I know they bring in his family, like we've never seen his parents before.
We also learn how Peach ended up in the Mushroom Kingdom.
Yeah, I mean, there was hints of it. They actually do.
I never knew. I had no idea.
I mean, there have been Baby Peach and in the games and stuff, just never been really explicitly.
Yeah, but they don't explain like how she ended up there.
No, but they don't explain that in this either. She came through a portal one day, and here we are.
No, they explain it. I mean, their whole backstory's there.
They don't explain where she comes from.
Well, yeah, they do. It's just like Mario. She got sucked into a weird pipe and ended up there.
We don't know where she comes from. Like he's like, oh, maybe you're from my universe. She's like, there's a big galaxy out there. She's human, so she's obviously not from there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it explains Mario's origin story. You meet his parents and his uncle.
Yeah, you've never seen his parents before.
Yeah.
And they do there's a Baby Mario and Baby Luigi reference.
Yeah. I mean, everything is referenced in this. Everything. It is amazing.
The first like 10 minutes are basically like blink and you'll miss 3 references.
I like the first hour.
Yeah.
I got it. So obviously, I knew that the review scores for this were terrible before I went in to see it. So my expectations were pretty effing low. I got about an hour into this, and I was literally like, this is amazing. I was like, holy crap, like, this movie was made, as the lower third says, for a me. And I totally understand why movie critics hate this, because really the plot is don't give up. That's pretty much it.
Well, the one of the reasons they hate it is it's the Illuminations formula for, like, the 12th time. This is the Illuminations movie.
But see, I think that's ridiculous. You shouldn't review a movie because you're like, you should just review the movie. You shouldn't be like, oh, I saw this other movie that has a goat in it that is structured the same, so this movie sucks. That's bullshit.
Well, no, it's not.
Like,
because
but I agree.
You judge things by body of work.
At it like it's a movie.
You judge things by body of work.
It doesn't have a great plot. It doesn't have a bunch of threads going on underneath the surface.
Well, next time you criticize a game for not building on the game that came before it, that's the same criticism there.
It's not, though.
It is, though.
No, if I criticize a game that says... I don't do that. I don't criticize an open-world game because it's exactly like how they handle the open world in Grand Theft Auto. I don't. That's the real
But what about if Grand Theft Auto 6 does the same thing as Grand Theft Auto 5? We're talking about the same company. We're talking about the same people.
I don't care.
Literally the same team.
I don't care. I review every product for what it is. I don't think about any of that bullshit.
Okay, well, regardless, the movie is very derivative in terms of if you've seen the other Illuminations things made by the same directors. Criticism judges directors and writers by their body of work all the time. It is entirely fair.
That's bullshit and ridiculous. No, it's not fair.
Of course it is.
It's not.
Of course it is. People hold Pixar and Disney animation to the same standards as well. Like that's why Pixar changes it up so much.
Everybody should be held to the same standard.
Look, man, if you got to sit through 3 Despicable Me movies and a Minions movie,
that makes no sense, Matt. So you have a great director who makes a movie. It isn't his best movie. It probably is still better than 95% of the bullshit. But because it's the same as this last movie, it sucks. That's insane. That makes no logical sense whatsoever.
No, it does make perfect sense.
How?
I don't care. We're going to move past this now because
you can't explain it.
I just explained it. It's the same thing as when you say
you didn't.
I did. When people review a Steven Spielberg movie, do they not take into account Steven Spielberg's past films?
No, they review it for the movie that it is. If it's still better than the other movies that are out there.
Have you ever read a movie review?
Yes, obviously.
What are you talking about? I'm done with this.
Because you lost the discussion.
No, I didn't.
You did.
Ask the chat.
I don't give a shit what the chat thinks. I'm talking to you about this.
Yeah, that's because you can't actually back this up. You just made this weird thing up in your head as though nobody thinks a body of work when they review things.
You're saying that a movie can be better than all the other movies, but because it's not as good as the other movies that director made, it's not as good as these other movies. That's insane.
I'm saying that calling a movie derivative because it's the same as these people have made multiple times is not an unfair criticism.
No, it's derivative because it's with all movies, not just the ones that those people made.
That is not what I'm saying at all.
I will move on because you can't. You're obviously.
Matt is spot on. Matt is right.
I don't care what they say, Matt. I don't care. I don't care what they think. You have not displayed your argument to me in a way that makes sense.
I just explained what it is. It's the same thing as if you're talking about Resident Evil 4 doesn't do enough new things compared to Resident Evil 3, which it did. But, like, what I'm comparing the past work of an artist.
I'm not saying you disregard it. I'm saying if you're going to review a product of someone, so you don't review it just against them.
No one's reviewing a product. They're reviewing a piece of art.
Whatever. It doesn't matter.
That's not what. Okay, of course I can't come up with a good argument if every response you have is whatever. Give it up.
My response isn't whatever.
You just said whatever.
Enough. I just clearly explained my argument to you. You're saying a bad Spielberg movie that still could be way better than all the other movies should be considered a bad movie, period, with all these other trashy movies. You just said a bad
Spielberg movie that's way better than all the other movies?
No, one that's worse than his other films. You're saying that should just be considered shit because it's not a Spielberg.
I'm not saying it shouldn't be considered shit. When did I say it should be considered shit? I'm saying
there's no logic to what you're saying.
I'm saying it's a valid comparison.
There's no logic to what you're saying. There isn't.
Of course there is.
How can you say that?
Then why does everyone agree with me?
Again, I don't care what they think, Matt. You need to
because they don't agree with you.
I'm the one that you're discussing this with, not them.
Yeah, but you won't hear anything I'm talking about.
What am I not hearing?
I'm saying comparing a movie from a studio or from a director that is to his previous body of work is fucking basic. It's standard.
You can do it, but
it's not the only reason they're slamming the movie.
No, now you're changing what you're saying.
That's exactly what I said.
When you first said you were comparing that movie to the other movies, not to just theirs. Of course, if the Spielberg movie's not as good as his last movie, I can say that's not the best Spielberg movie. But I'm not going to say then all these other movies are better than it because it's not a good Spielberg movie.
What movies are we saying is better than
any of them? Forget it,
What are you talking about?
You aren't even following the discussion anymore.
Of course I'm following the discussion. I said you're comparing it to the other Illumination movies, which use the exact same formula this one does on the baseline. And the reason this
Matt, how is that functional? If no one's I've never even seen an Illumination movie. I certainly wouldn't recognize a repetitive pattern in its structure. How does that review do me any fucking good?
Well, that's a different question.
It doesn't the way most people are. Most people are not like you, Matt. They aren't like you.
I'm not even talking about my review of this movie. I'm talking about the professional reviews that slammed this thing.
And that review would have no value for 95% of the audience. It would have none.
Except it has a huge value for the audience.
You.
Not for me.
For the film nerds.
Not for me. Will you let me finish a fucking sentence?
I keep trying to let you finish, and you won't.
What the fuck does that mean? Shush for a second.
Oh, you're going to shush me now?
Yes.
Just forget it.
No, because what I'm talking about is... Well, first off, it's useful for the 95% of the audience, which is going to be parents deciding to take their kids to this movie or not. That's what the review is for.
Do you really think a parent cares that this movie was structured just like Invisible Me or whatever? Do you think they care about that?
Invisible Me?
Or whatever other animated movie, whatever other Illumination movie.
They care because if their kids like those movies, you take them to a similar movie, they're probably going to shut up for 2 hours.
Parents don't know that, Matt. They don't know the movie's structured exactly.
Of course they do.
Forget it.
What are you talking about?
You're living in your own little world of
No, I'm not.
Nerd. Yes, you are. You are not thinking about the normal person.
I am absolutely thinking about the normal person, which is a parent who takes their kids to these movies.
Who would never recognize a repetitive pattern in a structure.
Of course they would.
No, they wouldn't.
They recognize this as the same movie.
They don't have time to think about that crap. They're raising kids.
Anyone who has seen a fucking Despicable Me movie more than once knows that those movies are all the same movie. But they use a formula.
I didn't know that.
Right, but I'm not talking about you.
I'm the average Joe who goes to movies.
I don't know why you're so upset that they. I mean, look, the negative reviews are ridiculous on a level beyond pointing this out. I'm not saying this is the only reason that they're slamming.
I don't disagree with the negative reviews. I can understand their perspective because the plot isn't great.
Okay, I don't think either of us think this should have like a 50% on Metacritic.
Maybe a little higher, but I don't think that much higher.
I thought you really liked it.
I do really like it, but it was made for me. It was
made for you. It was made for you, but it was also made for fucking 10-year-olds.
Well, it's made for kids who are just like, whatever. It's fucking Mario. They don't get shit. But for adults,
but a whole generation of kids, this is going to be their foundational Mario experience.
Sure, I didn't even have one. But what my point is that like this movie was made for me. All the Easter eggs. I literally sat there the whole movie and was like, and the person sitting next to me was like.
Who?
The dad who was with the kids. He just sat there with his mouth open.
Yeah, because he probably had to drag those kids to every fucking Mario. No, because he didn't get all the references.
Literally, this movie, every 30 seconds, there's some other obscure, weird Mario and I was just like, oh, wow. And every people around me were dead silent. They didn't get it. They didn't see the stuff. And it was made for me. And that's why I love the movie. I can totally understand how someone who doesn't play Mario, all the Mario games, understand all the little zeitgeists about Mario, would go watch that and be like, I just learned to never give up. And that's pretty much the only message that's in the movie.
What I'm trying to say about...
So I understand why the critics are like, this isn't very good, but I loved it personally.
Well, I don't think you need to fully understand everything about Mario to enjoy like a basic storyline here. I think the negative reviews for it are weirdly out of kilter in that regard, because you don't need... What I was struggling to finish a sentence about was that, like, it's the same formula as Minions and Despicable Me and all the things that Illuminations makes. But the secret, obviously those movies have not made $3 billion. Well, the secret sauce here, obviously is based on Mario, one of the biggest IPs in the world. Number 2, number 3, I think, at this point. More recognizable than Ronald McDonald.
That's why people saying they don't care about Mario. I'm like, he's literally... like the biggest property in the world.
I mean, it's like only after Pokemon.
Like you can go into a village in the middle of like the jungle, and you can show them a picture of Mario, and they're like, Mario. Like, I think it's funny how many people are like in the chat are like, right, Mario.
But like, well, that does surprise me a little bit. But like, what I'm saying is like the Illuminations formula is absolutely here. Like that's all it is. It's all it is. But that formula is a formula for a reason. Those Despicable Me movies are big hits. The Minions movie was a giant hit. The Minions movie is like the 4th biggest animated film of all time. Like, they've outdone Disney with this formula a lot of the time, at the box office anyway. I don't know, but quality is another question. But, like, it's the fact that they just stuck to the formula that they perfected over these years, plus Nintendo's on board making sure they get all the references and the lore right. And that's all you need to do. But and they're getting rewarded at the box office for it, because it doesn't matter.
No one picks up on the pattern, Matt. Nobody, but you do, because you are literally like a film savant. Most people do not. They're just like, I enjoyed it or I didn't.
I think if you talk to most parents who like have to take their kids to these movies over and over again, they're going to be like, yeah, that's basically, at the very least, they're going to be like, well, it's the same movie in the sense that it's the tone's there and the comedy's the same. I was talking about this on the way home from the movie, in fact, yesterday, that like one of the things that DreamWorks and Illuminations figured out that I think Disney took a long time to figure out. Pixar figured it out first, but Disney Animation, the separate studio in Disney that makes Moana, the different movies, the kind of the more the princess fairy tale movies, that has moved away from that over the last few years. But Pixar always made different things. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons it works, and there's a kind of a difference between the classic Disney formula and the modern animated formula that Mario very much embodies as well. The comedy relief and the primary characters that drive the story have to be the same characters. Like, the main character has to be able to be serious and do the heartfelt stuff, but also has to be able to give a wacky visual take. And Mario can do that. Mario can, be sad in his room playing Kid Icarus and talk about how he wants to be more and wants his dad to be proud of him. And he can fall off a platform and do a freeze frame with his face all crazy, like that. Like, Disney protagonists don't do that. Classic Disney protagonists have comedy relief characters to do that. One of the things Pixar figured out is Woody and Buzz can be the heart of the film, but they can still be the butts of jokes. And that's part of the formula and part of what makes Illuminations and DreamWorks, like Shrek, stuff like that. That's what makes it feel different from like the classic Disney style. And that's part of the formula, is that idea that like nobody is safe.
I don't think the average person.
But the kids do know.
I think
the kids wouldn't be able to write an essay about it, but the kids know it changes the pacing of a film. It's because you don't have any characters on screen at any time that something wacky and funny can't happen to. It's almost more of a Looney Tunes idea. And the kids pick up on that, and the kids are less likely to be bored by things because
I did see kids starting to mill around about an hour into the film.
Some kids just won't pay attention to anything. Yeah. Like, I've seen kids do that during like Pixar movies that are supposed to be the greatest Pixar movies of all time. There were kids in front of me at Monsters, Inc. that would not fucking look at the screen. Kids are just kids.
Yeah.
And look, in a perfect world, parents would know they have kids that can or cannot pay attention to a movie in a theater luckily this movie
take them.
This movie's like 95 minutes. Like it was
the right running time, because it did really run out of steam by the time.
But you know what? It's 2 hours if you get there on the time the movie's supposed to start, because you sit through 20-25 minutes of trailers.
I was okay with
and then
that,
the kids are going to.
I'm okay with trailers for stuff I haven't
I'm okay
seen.
with that, but you get you've already lost half an hour of the kids' attention at that point by the time the movie starts.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
I think these movies for parents or for adults, like, they have to have more than a very simple message, and those are the ones to me that the adults enjoy. The ones where there are these other threads kind of underneath the surface of the main plot, like Frozen 2. Like, you can watch those as an adult and not feel offended. I don't think this movie does that. I don't think it transcends like what the average, like, I didn't see hardly any of the adults like laughing at the movie. Like they were just kind of humoring their kids in the when I was watching.
There wasn't a lot of laughter in our screening.
Again, when it ended, the
some
whole
things
theater
I laughed
clapped.
at. Some things I laughed at, and I was the only one in the theater.
Oh, there was like 50 because I was the only one getting the in jokes.
See, I
They
didn't.
worked it, and look, you can see Miyamoto all over that movie, and I loved it for that. But everybody else just wasn't getting it. Like I kept chuckling and laughing at stuff. The only one in the theater who was making any reference to any of the stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really react to much of the references. It was more like, oh, that's cool. Yeah,
I was like, oh,
yeah, I don't.
Stuff like that.
I don't. I mean, I saw all of it, and some of the references are very clever. Some of them are more like, okay, whatever.
Well, no, here's how they made the movie. They made a scene, and they brought Miyamoto in, and they're like, okay, watch this scene. Tell us how we can dot stuff in. So if you look at any scene, there's always like characters in the background. Those are a lot of the Easter eggs. And you can just tell Miyamoto was like, okay, if you're just going to have random people standing here for this shot, you might as well have this character in there.
I think that was more the directors.
They knew Mario games well enough to do that?
At least one of the directors is a huge Mario fan.
I thought it was just Miyamoto all over.
I think you're giving Miyamoto way too much credit for that.
Really? How come? Why would you think that?
Because animators and everybody, like you people who are making these movies, are the right age to have grown up with these games in the first place. And one of the there's 3 directors on this movie because animation is complicated. And I don't remember which one it was, but there were interviews before this, and one guy was like, "I'm a huge Mario fan. I wanted Donkey Kong in there. Like we talked to Nintendo about getting Donkey Kong in there. And it's a good thing they did because I think that's going to be the spin-off sequel." And Seth Rogen got involved for that as well. But Seth Rogen's apparently turning over a whole animation leaf now. He's also executive producing that Ninja Turtles movie.
Which I saw a preview of. I thought that looked good.
Looked pretty good.
Everything I saw. I liked the new Transformers. I liked the new Spider-Man. I liked the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They targeted those trailers perfectly.
Yeah, I didn't like the design of the Ninja Turtles first, but when I saw that trailer in motion, they really worked.
I liked it. Yeah. I thought
they almost have a stop motion quality.
Yeah.
So did this one a couple of times.
The Mario movie?
The Mario movie a couple of times I remembered, I don't know why, but I thought of that, you remember that first Nintendo Power cover with like the clay sculpture of Mario 2?
Yeah.
I thought of that a couple. It's probably just because it looked like kind of concrete 3D.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the movie. Like if I were just going to review it for me, I would give it like an 8.5 or something. I can totally understand why it has the Metacritic average that it has. But as like someone who's grown up with Mario and got every reference in it, I thought parts of it were like genius.
I mean, I've seen way dumber stuff get higher critical reception. I didn't like it as much as you. I'd probably give it more like a 7.5. I thought it was fine. I think it was all it needed to be.
Yeah.
It was fine.
I was pleasantly surprised by it.
It was an entirely pleasant time at the movies.
Yeah. I will say it wrapped up when it needed to. Like,
yeah, it was exactly as long as it needed to be.
When the kids started milling around at like the 60-minute, 70-minute mark, my mind started wandering a little bit. Because again, there just wasn't enough heart and soul in the movie.
There's not a lot of substance to it.
Yeah,
but like it's more of a
vapid.
It's more of a ride.
Yeah.
But it's the formula. It's like if you ever watch one of the Despicable Me's, you'll see it's almost exactly the same. It's like
I think I saw the first one.
Yeah, but it's like and they've doubled down on it. Like Despicable Me 2 and 3 lean a little more into this, and like Mario didn't. Probably more of a Despicable Me balance, but it's like Me 1 balance. But it's like hello spam caller. It's like individual. It's like funny thing. Oh, we got to slow it down and really talk about what's wrong right now. Oh, that turned into a funny thing. And then so basically you get like 3 or 4 beats of serious throughout the movie, and that was pretty much what Mario did as well. With Despicable Me, it's Gru realizing he cares about the girls that he ends up adopting.
Yeah.
And in this, it's like Mario A wanting to be something, and B every once in a while it's him being worried about Luigi. But mostly it's Mario wanting to be somebody important. And more or less, it gets you there. The one thing I thought was a little rushed is when he shows up to meet Peach, and Peach is like, all right, like sure, come on, let's go.
Yeah,
I mean,
I liked that Peach was a badass.
Yeah, Peach was very well done.
Yeah, I loved how they handled her.
Yeah, because you got to figure
that's the way Peach should be.
Yeah, because you got to figure something out, because she can't just be kidnapped and sit around the whole movie.
Yeah, she wasn't the helpless princess.
No,
she actually taught him how to be a badass. I thought that was great.
Yeah, so that all
definitely
worked.
Parts of it that I really, really liked.
It's a weakness and a strength that it has to make up the story, basically.
Yeah.
Like, there is no basic template of story to follow in the Mario lore.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, there's hardly any lore at all. They basically
none.
had to make it up.
They
for
aren't
the movie.
characters, you know. And and that's why you got people. It's like, oh my god, they changed Peach so much, they made her a girl boss. And it's like, have you played some of these? Also, some of the old comics, she was exactly like that.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're drawing from like the old manga. I'm sure that Miyamoto
had her
brought
own
that.
games.
I'm sure Miyamoto brought that up in the development. Was like, she in the old manga, she kicks Bowser's ass herself, like in the dress the whole time, like doing all that.
She also had her own games, like the one for GBA.
The Super Princess Peach.
Yeah.
She
was the star of the game.
And like, I mean, she's been playable since Mario 2.
Smash Brothers. I mean, I don't understand why people couldn't accept that from her.
I don't know. And again, and she even says it in the movie. I grew up here.
Yeah.
I grew up doing this.
Yeah.
And like it also, a lot of there's some real obscure reference. I mean, I think it's a reference.
It kept blowing my mind.
After the obstacle course scene, and they're just sitting there talking. That's got to be a reference. That visual has got to be a reference to that fan art of him and Peach sitting on the blocks with everything all crazy and dark.
Maybe.
Remember that?
Yeah, with almost like the clock melting type.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. As soon as I saw that angle of them, I'm like, oh, that's that, right?
I just felt like there's stuff like that.
I mean, there's weird
all
shit
the way
probably
through it, man. I was blown away by it.
Because these animators, you cannot. I mean, like what I'm saying about the animators putting stuff like that in. Because like if you watch, I mean, you almost got a frame by frame, but that Spider-Verse trailer.
Yeah.
And there's a scene where he's flying through kind of like this thing with all these shards of glass and representing the multiverse.
Yeah.
And one of the shards of glass is a detailed CG representation of, I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it's an intentionally poorly drawn MS Paint version of Spider-Man called Spooderman, which is like a meme that somebody drew on Reddit like 10 years ago.
Put it in the glass.
And it's in the glass as one of the it's in a fucking
great.
Sony Spider-Man movie. Like that.
They better be careful. They might get sued. That just happened with Elder Scrolls Online. They just accidentally included fan art in like the game, and the fan drew it like 8 years ago and just discovered it. Was like, whoa, like, dude, I drew that as like a fan almost a decade ago, and now it's appearing in your game.
Yeah,
you got to be careful with that stuff because some people won't care. They're like, that's cool, but some people will be like, I want money. Mm-hmm. It just depends.
I feel like it'd be hard to claim a meme you drew anonymously on Reddit, like in like the 2010s. But like, so yeah, or just look at how many, the end of the first Spider-Verse and the current one it's all based on the pointing Spider-Man.
Right.
meme.
Well, I love how they put that meme in the trailer. That got a laugh out of the whole crowd.
But there's a lot of stuff in there that I was, the more obscure stuff I thought was funny. I liked that they walk down like in the sub tunnels, and there's a level. It says stage 1-1 or 1-2 because the stage 1-2 is underground. That's great.
How about the BDSM star? The total sadistic.
The nihilist Luma is my favorite thing in the whole movie.
It is the best.
That was one of the things that I was the only one in the theater laughing at. Every time the Luma said something, I guess it's Luma Lee. It's supposed to be Luma Lee, the storekeeper from Galaxy Games with the flags or whatever. Yeah. But like,
never knew that. Underneath the surface, she was so dour.
Hasn't been in prison yet. Now it changes a person, even a star.
Yeah. One thing I will say is like it was enjoyable, and I did not regret paying the $16 to go see it at the theater. And like I never go to the theater anymore, like ever.
No, I'm glad
I went to see Top Gun, and before that it was probably like a Star Wars movie was the last one I had gone to see.
I see movies in the theater all the time.
Yeah, see, I don't, and I do not regret going and seeing.
No, I'm glad I saw. I mean, it wasn't a common criticism in the professional reviews, but a lot of them did say that it didn't look very good, and I'm like, I don't know what they're talking about.
I mean, I don't go see all the CG movies anymore.
I don't see them in theater. I've seen most of them, and even the ones Minions is not my favorite movie of all time by any stretch, but it looks good.
Yeah,
the CG looks. I can't remember the last like mainstream CG animated film I saw,
that blew me away.
I can't remember the last one I saw and thought, oh, that looks terrible.
Oh, terrible!
Like,
no, because it's
none of them look terrible.
No, they don't. No.
And
or even ones that blow me away, like since like Toy Story 2 maybe is the last one that I was like, whoa, like everything's been so incremental since then. It just hasn't had a big leap anywhere.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
And this certainly isn't that either. Like this isn't some new technological marvel or anything like that.
No, but it's the best Mario's ever looked.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, that's the only depressing part of it is like the games could look kind of like this too if you had decent hardware.
I did like how every once in a while they showed you what a Mario game will look like someday when they can do real time. Like when he traveled, they always did it like game style.
Yeah, they did this side-scrolling thing,
and then he did a 3D one. And that, to me, I'm watching it. I'm like, this is what a Mario game is going to look like in 30 years or whatever, when I'm probably dead and gone.
The movie could have used more of that. Yeah, frankly.
Yeah, probably
a little more action.
Yeah.
Also, I was disappointed that in the kart racing sequence where all the Donkey Kong guys have the big crazy carts. I was really expecting like some kind of Mad Max Fury Road reference. And I was sad it didn't.
I mean, the whole scene I thought was Mad Max.
A little bit, but I was waiting for a Kong to have a guitar on the
go for it.
Yeah, really go for it.
But then there's like the moment where they're in trouble and he takes the Rainbow Road shortcut.
Oh, yeah.
Like, again, like something that I was like, only people who play games will get that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, other people are just like, oh, he found a shortcut. I'm like, no, that is the iconic Rainbow Road shortcut that is like, I could best, on a good day, I'm 30% good at nailing that shortcut or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's a huge risk, but only people who have played a lot of Mario Kart understand the risk that he took by trying to land that shortcut.
Or anyone who has looked at anything related to Mario Kart, like famous, that's like if the fourth thing in a Mario Kart like list of like famous things about Mario Kart is probably the Rainbow Road shortcut. The thing is, it's only recently that anyone making that movie would have even looked at that list.
Yeah.
Like
it's full of stuff like that. It's literally one every like 30 seconds where I'm just like, what? You put that in there for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everyone else sitting around me has no clue what that references or what game it comes from, or like how cleverly they've actually approached like that the reference. Like, I was just like, damn, like just over and over and over again. I just felt like they made the movie for me, and that's why I'm surprised how it's doing so well. Like, I feel like maybe that underlying message of the film is hitting people more than I thought it would. So.
No, I don't think it's that. I think it's the fact that it's a visually interesting movie. I think because it nails the look. As even if you don't get the references, even if you don't care about Mario's personal journey to make Charles Martinet, his father, feel good about him. Mm-hmm. Good use of him. That was a good tribute to Martinet. Mm-hmm. Both having him be the Jumpman character and having him be Mario's father. Like, that worked for me.
Yeah.
That was. I mean, I don't care about Charles Martinet not getting to do the main voice, but I thought that was a nice bow of respect.
Another reference you just brought up: the Jumpman arcade machine, mm-hmm. which is where Mario came from. He wasn't called Mario at first, and he was called Jumpman. Like, mm-hmm. there's just. The whole movie's filled with stuff like that.
Yeah,
like, it's just really awesome, man. Like,
I mean, the one there's everywhere. There's like
it's just on and on.
There's a store that's, I can't remember the restaurant's name, but it's the French for Duck Hunt.
Yeah.
And like all this stuff like that.
Like, when the movie first started, I was like, okay, I'm gonna like pull out my phone and take notes of the references. And it got like 5 minutes in. I was like, that's a fool's errand. There's no way I could type them all.
They slow down eventually, but like in the I mean,
the first hour
is a lot. I mean, the scenes in New York.
Yeah,
it's just boom, boom, boom. Every shot has something in the first, like in the opening scenes in Brooklyn for sure. And then like once you get to because the references once they get to the Mushroom Kingdom are more direct Mario game references, mm-hmm. whereas the Brooklyn references are all Nintendo lore stuff. Like you got Punch-Out references and
then also,
Wrecking Crew references.
Super Mario Odyssey, which takes place in an urban area. Yeah. Like, and it does kind of go through all the Mario games. Like I said, there's the Luigi's Mansion references. There's Super Mario Galaxy. It just really goes through all of it.
They even get a New Donk City reference in there.
Yeah, it's really crazy. I didn't regret going to see it. Like, I recommend going to see it if you're a big game fan. If you're a Mario fan, don't even think twice. Go see it in the theater. Mm-hmm. Take your nephew or your niece if you don't have kids or whatever, and go have fun. Like, I've hardly go to movies ever. I spent $16 to go see this. I do not regret it. Yeah. I really enjoyed it.
I go to movies all the time. I thought it was a fine time at the movies. Yeah. I don't go see the non-Disney animated stuff in theaters very often. Yeah. But I thought this was worth. I'm just the kineticism of it and how they capture the video game elements in the animation. I think is worth seeing on a big screen, especially if you can get to a screening where not so many kids. I wouldn't want to see it packed on Easter Sunday.
I would not recommend like somebody that I know that doesn't really like video games to go see it.
No, I mean, the part of the appeal is definitely capturing the frenetic kineticism of the video games. And again, all kids know that. Mm-hmm. Like, even if you're not familiar with Mario, you are going to recognize that tone and that kind of energy on the screen. That's when it doesn't ever stop moving. To its detriment a couple of times.
Yeah, it almost becomes like overwhelming.
Yeah, it could use a couple of breaths,
some valleys here and there. Yeah.
And there was one point where I'm like, oh, is it over already? And like it wasn't. There was another. I thought it hit the end of Act 2 and it hadn't yet. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. But like, there was a moment in my head where I'm like, oh, is this going to be like 75 minutes long? Yeah. It could be, maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
It probably maybe should have been.
But like, I mean, maybe not, apparently not, because it's doing fine.
It sure is.
We're
gonna get more. There's no doubt about that.
Well, no question. I mean, the rumor around town has been that they've been working on Zelda already. Supposedly Donkey Kong is going to be the spin-off follow-up to this, and then an actual Mario sequel.
Yeah.
And there's
one thing we should keep in mind
obviously
with the
there's
film,
speculation that they want to build to like some kind of Smash Brothers cinematic universe thing.
Yeah.
But I'm like, look, okay, and this is an interesting question. I think is like, how many Nintendo properties can you really do this with?
5.
Maybe. Like you do this with them. You probably get a Donkey Kong movie. I mean, they obviously set that up in this. Zelda,
Kirby, maybe.
You could probably. I mean, Kirby had a cartoon series.
Kid Icarus, maybe.
Kid Icarus is already in the movie. That's the other thing. It's like, so apparently the Nintendo Entertainment System exists in this universe.
Right.
Just not with Mario.
Right. It's really weird.
And even if you look at the Jumpman arcade game, it's not Mario and it's not Donkey Kong. So it's an alternate universe where Mario and Donkey Kong are not Nintendo characters.
It's weird.
Which is something to explore.
It is.
But I think you could do it with Metroid, but I don't think they will. I think Metroid's not popular.
Metroid might be the best one, honestly.
I think Metroid would be amazing, but like I don't see them doing that. It totally would be very different. It's not
as popular as their other properties.
No, but you know what? Like that, if you really want to build to a Smash Brothers thing, I'm not saying they do. I'm not saying everybody needs to do an Avengers movie.
Yeah.
But like, if you really want to do that, it would behoove you to have very disparate characters and properties and tones, because when you bring them together, it's more interesting.
That's the magic.
It'd be more interesting to bring Mario and Donkey Kong and Metroid and Star Fox and Kirby all together into a thing and Zelda to be like, because those are all very different ideas and different concepts, and having them all have to work together against the subspace emissary or whatever you want to do would be interesting. But like, I mean, look, I think they probably have the momentum. I can see a world in which this Mario movie is basically the Iron Man 1 of a
so the thing you have to keep
empire.
in mind is like they have to establish everything in this, and so I do give this movie a little bit of a pass because they had to set up like, how did Mario end up in the Mushroom Kingdom? How did Peach end up in the Mushroom Kingdom? Where does this Mushroom Kingdom come from? Like, you have to establish all that stuff. So I do give a little bit of leeway for like the first film in a series in that way, but
I think they plant the seeds there. I mean, the second movie could definitely go into where she's from. And that's also, and actually when
she tries to get home, I mean,
she doesn't seem to have any.
She doesn't know what home is anymore.
Doesn't seem to have any interest in that really. But I do. I don't think it's a coincidence that when they talk about where Peach might have come from, and Mario's like, maybe you're from my world, and she's like, well, it's a big galaxy out there. And it's like, well, that is begging you to introduce Rosalina and the Super Mario Galaxy stuff in the sequel, and kind of you end up searching for maybe where Peach's home is from, or there's some reason they need to do that. And that gets you into the wider Super Mario Galaxy thing, and Bowser can be weird about it, and like, you know, there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do with that.
Did you like the musical number, the Peaches song?
No, I thought that was pretty stupid.
I think it's idiotic. I don't it feels like everyone just gives Jack Black a pass to do whatever he wants. It's just like, whatever you do is funny, even though it's not funny. I thought that song was annoying, and then they bring it back for like the after credits scene or whatever.
Yeah, well, they released it as a music video, and now they're talking about how it's technically eligible for an Oscar. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I realize you got to shoot your shot, guys, but like, both times he did that song, I was waiting for it to get there, and it just never.
Yeah, because it's not funny.
Never did.
It's not clever.
It's awful.
And it's not funny.
It's also the same joke as a Cheers episode from years ago. There's a bit way back in Cheers, Woody, played by Woody Harrelson, is trying to write a song for his girlfriend Kelly to impress her.
I think I remember.
And it's the same thing. He plays like 2 verses and just goes Kelly. Like, it's the same fucking joke.
Yeah.
And I know, look, if we can't compare this movie to previous Illuminations movies, we sure as hell can't compare it to a 25-year-old sitcom. But as an old person who remembers that joke because I liked it, I'm like, that's just the Kelly joke again.
I guess what I would say.
Here's the thing. It's not even that I'm saying like a show. I'm saying I bet Jack Black also remembers that joke.
Probably. Because he's also our age.
Yeah.
And he's right our age. But I guess the reason I mentioned that is if you've seen that clip and you thought that would, like, if I don't enjoy this clip, I'm probably not going to enjoy the film, that's wrong. Like, I hated that clip, and I hated that part of the movie. I still enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, don't judge it by that.
Yeah, don't judge it by that.
I mean,
I don't know why.
He's great as Bowser. Just I didn't think that
song in particular. Me too.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that's 2 thumbs up from us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I liked it as much. And again, like if someone's like, it was meh, like I'd be like, I get it. Like part of the appeal to me is sort of seeing all that stuff animated on the screen and how cool it looks when you're really going for it.
Yeah. I think your enjoyment is going to be directly proportional to how much you know and love Mario. I really think there's a huge.
It definitely would help. And I'm sure there's I'm not as hardcore Mario fan as some, so I'm sure there's a bunch of references I missed. Even the stuff that I saw was more than enough, but like it's drowning in them
it's
at
really
times.
Crazy. Yeah.
To the point that you get distracted later on, or you're kind of looking for more references later on, and they're not there, and you're like, oh, I guess we're done.
Yeah. Now they have to resolve the plot.
Yeah, now we actually have to... Well, it's that classic thing where it's like, oh, now you actually have to give structured... We're not doing... Because it's a comedy and sort of an adventure thing. You got a thing where you're sort of like, oh, we can just sort of make up whatever we want. We came up with this idea, we can make that happen. And, the problem is always the end of the third act for any of these movies where it's like, okay, now you actually have to work within a framework and get to the end of a story, and sometimes that can sort of expose how weak the story is.
Horror movies, both almost never stick to landing.
No. Oh, and the one we didn't talk about at all. I thought the music nailed it.
Yeah,
they use every Mario, Donkey, every Nintendo themes you can think of all through it. Like it's very, very well done. Koji Kondo is listed as a consultant on the soundtrack, and it's clear, very clear.
Yeah.
Like if you're a Nintendo fan, I can't see you not wanting to own this score.
Yeah, if
like
you're a Nintendo fan, I'm sure you've seen it already.
Probably.
You should have, and if you haven't, go see it. You're going to love it. I think a hardcore Nintendo fan is going to love this movie.
Oh yeah. And like it's funny that like one of the things I noted when I was at the Super Mario Land, Nintendo Land at Universal Studios was how they had a lot of music playing that was like permutations of the various Mario themes. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. But I think a lot of them are from this.
Oh,
like I certainly think I remember hearing the Bowser theme that they play in Bowser's Castle in the theme park. At least it was a similar arrangement.
Yeah.
So yeah, the music was very, very good.
It's really amazing how much great music has been in the Mario franchise across the decades.
Yeah, I mean, it was...
Very memorable.
I can't remember who it was. I interviewed... It was years and years ago. I think it was the Epic Mickey press event. But they had a guy there who was... I think he was Hans Zimmer's like right-hand dude.
Oh, wow.
I can't remember his name, unfortunately. But he was a... he was one of the composers. He was like, if Hans Zimmer couldn't do it, he had this guy do it in his kind of stable of musicians.
Yeah.
And we were talking about Mario music and kind of various Nintendo things and stuff in the interview. And I asked him, like, okay, you're a musician. Your job is this. You know music backwards and forwards in ways I don't. Is the Mario theme legitimately great music, or is it just we love it because we remember it from the game? He's like, that's a legitimately great piece of ragtime writing.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, you know what? It's real complex.
Yeah, it's got hooks, man.
It's a very... He's like, the thing is, like, if you try to play that on a piano or something, it's very, very difficult because it's so complicated and complex. He's like, because Koji Kondo didn't have to play anything to make it. He just had to program it. And he's like... And then, like, there's... The same with, like, there's a guy who... He actually, unfortunately, died a few years ago, but he's this guy who was, like, this brilliant ragtime pianist. He's a pianist who could do it. He could read anything by sight. You put anything in front of him, and he could just play it. And so this guy started bringing him video game music to play, and he puts the Mario theme in front of him, and he starts playing. He's like, "Oh, this is fascinating!" Like, I mean, this guy has no idea what video games are. Like, he's never played a video game, does nothing about anything, and he just puts this in front of him. He's like, "Oh, this is fascinating!" Like, you can see he's like, he kind of has to get, he works a little bit to get it.
Test, yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, bring me more of that." Like, he kind of became a Koji Kondo fan because he's like, "Oh, this is really fascinating." Like what he writes. So it is. I think we have it on good authority that it is actually legitimately good composing. It's legitimately great music.
I'm not surprised to hear that at all. Yep. So there you go. That's the Super Mario Brothers movie. Both of us really liked it. I say any Nintendo fan should go and see it. I think anyone who just really likes video games will also enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not a huge Mario fan. And I admit part of the reason I'm in that theater is because I want to support you, so maybe I'll get that Metroid movie one day. Yeah. But, like, if you just like video games, it's sort of like Sonic is not as universal. I think you have to be invested in the echidna bullshit to like have some sort of affinity for what happens in Sonic 2. I don't think that's true with this. I think this is a more accessible film. Yeah. Clearly the kids love both. Almost every time I'm in like a store with kids or whatever, I hear kids say something about Sonic, which is fucking
my
surreal.
My nephews love Sonic because of the movies.
It's amazing to me that you hear that still. But like, it's awesome. I love it.
I love that I'm seeing this new generation of little kids loving the stuff that we grew up with.
If you actively hate Mario, I guess, but otherwise, I
don't know how you could do that, but
I can't at least think, even if you don't think the movie's dumb or too simple, I can't imagine you wouldn't be glad you saw those visuals on a big screen.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't regret paying to go see it. So there you go. That's the Super Mario Brothers movie. Next,
and we will see you guys $3 billion later.
Yeah, you think they're gonna hit $3 billion?
I mean, the $3 billion, that would make it the biggest movie of all time. So no,
I didn't think so either.
But the biggest, I think they're saying $3.5 billion if you account home video rentals and sales, and once all told, once the cycle's done, like a year from now, they could have pulled in that much. For the theatrical run, I think it's got a shot at 1.6.
Seems like it.
It's on track. Well, I mean, again, we won't know metrics for sure until we see next weekend, which is not a holiday. It's not Easter weekend.
Yep. It's
going to be interesting because if you see a drop, if next week's drop is less than 50%, because on most movies you're going to expect 50 to 60.
Yep.
If it's less than 50, it's like a 40%, 45% drop from weekend to weekend. This thing's going all the way.
It's going to go huge. Yeah.
It probably has a shot at beating Frozen 2, and it might have a shot at beating Lion King, because Lion King is 1.65 billion.
It'll be interesting to see like the metrics of aggregate review score to revenue. It might set a record for that.
I mean, it's up there.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you can't really. Yeah, I mean, the audience score is very high for this. You can't trust audience score because people just review bomb things, positive or negative.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I mean, look, critics. There's certain, as my dad used to say, this thing's critic proof.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, critics can like or dislike. Critics can dislike or dislike. And there's tons of things, because he didn't have a lot of use for the critics who only wanted to see films. It's PHILOMES. Films. But it's like, think of all the things that reviewed so well or better would have been, high quality films of like the summer of 1986. And think of how many of those you remember now. Probably not many, but you know what is remembered by almost everyone who was around as a kid that year is Transformers the movie. And just now, just this past couple weeks ago, Star Trek Picard had a shot in it that the directors admit is directly influenced by Unicron's pass by in the opening shot of Transformers the movie. So there's your fucking... And that movie got like on Metacritic today would probably get like a 20.
Yeah.
Like that thing got panned way harder than Mario did.
Yeah.
And it's not a good movie.
Yeah.
But it's an iconic movie.
Yeah.
And like that's what Mario's going to be. It's going to be a touchstone for an entire generation.
Yeah.
That thinks
I still remember the Transformers
thinks
movie.
of that as Mario.
Yeah.
And then plays the video game is like, how come it doesn't look how come it looks like this?
In 30 years it will.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what Odyssey I'm very curious if and what effect this movie will have on Odyssey 2.
I was thinking
or whatever
the
next
whole time
watching
watching the movie. Like,
obviously, I don't think it's going to renovate how what their next hardware looks like. But considering how involved Miyamoto has been with this and the theme park stuff, I would think that has to trickle down somehow.
They should have. This should be how Mario was handled all along. Like with the different universes where he has his home world and then he gets transported to the Mushroom Kingdom. Like they've never done it that way. They should have, but we have to move on.
Yeah, but how cool would it be if the next Mario is just a back to formula, like here's the Mushroom Kingdom.
Yeah,
go do it.
Like a reboot almost.
Yeah, a little bit of a reboot. Like you don't have to reinvent the wheel, you don't have to take them all these new worlds and make them transform into a dinosaur with a hat on. Yeah. What if we just do Mario?
Yeah,
and do Mario up the way Mario has never. Basically Mario 64, but like with this sort of aesthetic and this sort of idea of how to present the world. I think that would be a very smart move.
I agree. So there you go, Super Mario Brothers movie. Next up, we're going to talk about one of the other major releases of the week, and it was only a major release because it was for a game that is one of the biggest games of the month, and that is Resident Evil 4 Remake's Mercenaries mode. If you guys remember, Mercenaries mode made its debut inside the original Resident Evil 4. It was the first time they added really anything to a Resident Evil game. Before that, what did they have where like you could play as like the chunk of tofu?
You could unlock Hunk.
But those were just you just play through the campaign again, right?
Yeah, but you had to do like to unlock tofu, it was like some obscene speed run thing.
Yeah.
Or like it was.
But still, the reward.
It was either that or you had to do it. I think it was tofu only the knife. Like you had to beat the game only
with
using
just
the
a
knife
or something. Yeah.
It was something I could never do.
Yeah.
That was definitely.
But
that.
still, those rewards, you only use them to play the campaign again instead of having the extra mode altogether.
Yeah, this was the first thing like that, as I recall.
Yeah. Did you get into it back in the RE4 days, the OG RE4 days?
A little bit, but not much. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I played. I can't remember it very well. There was no online for that?
No,
it was a split screen.
Yeah, I mean there was only like 2 online.
I mean, I must have played it like at work. Like I must have played it but I don't think I played it otherwise than that. I tried to play that online one when that came. It was terrible. What was that?
Resident Evil Survivors or something?
No,
like
it was
that?
for PS2, I think, and it was like, was it Outbreak?
Yeah.
Where you picked a bunch of different
Yeah, it was
characters
awful.
and everybody.
Yeah.
It was more of a traditional Resident Evil.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember it. But this was kind of the progenitor of all of those extra modes that now are just commonplace in Resident Evil games.
Well, this is always the thing now that like anytime a new Resident Evil is announced, sometimes everyone's like Mercenaries mode.
And now they are usually included. But this comes from the OG, so I expected a little more out of this one. And in my opinion, it absolutely delivers. Like the other Mercenaries modes, basically you're trying to kill as many enemies as you can within a time limit. You can see in the top of the screen there's a number that's counting down. As you saw just a second ago, there are orbs located around the environments. If you collect those, they give you bonus time. But also, the way you get most bonus time is by killing enemies. And how you kill them affects what of a bonus you get. Like, as you can tell, if you just shoot them in the head or whatever, you generally get like a 2-second bonus for each one of them. But if you blow them up all together, so if you can get a whole herd of Ganados coming after you, and then you herd them over to an exploding barrel, and you blow them all up at once, you get like a bonus or a multiplier based upon how many you kill with like one attack. So there's strategy to it. It's not just about, oh my gosh, the clock's counting down, I need to kill as many as I can. You need to be smart about it and try to herd the enemies to certain areas so you can kill as many of them as possible with single armaments, like a single grenade or a single exploding barrel, whatever. Now there's another element that's different for this, and if you see below there's basically an overdrive meter. So as you kill enemies, and again, you can rebuild that meter a lot more quickly if you kill a lot at once. Once you hit that overdrive, you click both of the sticks, and you basically have a special ability. So every character's special ability is different. Leon's, basically, you get one-hit kills. No matter where you shoot a Ganado, they die, and you get the point bonus. Eventually, you can play as Krauser, and when you click both of those sticks, he actually turns into that crazy mutant that he is in the campaign, and you can go around and wipe out the Ganados with that. And the first time I played it, I was like, oh, I got this thing, and I thought it only built up once. Once I got good at this mode, and you start, as I said, hurting the enemies so you can kill a lot of them at once, and you get those bonuses, like, you can start to be a lot more strategic with this, and you can be a lot more clever with how you play it. There is a finite number to each one of these, so there's a finite number of enemies that will flood into the map. You can ultimately kill them all and actually win each one. I have not done that yet. I have not.
Was that possible in the other one?
I don't remember, because I was never good enough.
Yeah.
But in this one, you can actually finish the mode if you're good enough, and you become good enough. Again, a lot of it is just crowd control, figuring out how to get the enemies near something and trying to kill them all at once. And then, again, being very smart with your mayhem mode and knowing when to deploy that. And I've had a ton of fun with it. So I've unlocked Leon to start, then I unlocked Lewis, then I unlocked Krauser. I've unlocked 3 different stages. There's the village, there's the castle that you're seeing right now, and I can't remember the third one, actually. And they unlock pretty easily. Like, I was even that good when I first started playing, and the first time I played the village with Leon, I got an A, and that unlocked Lewis, and it unlocked the next stage. And then I had to play the second stage, the castle, twice, I think, before I unlocked the third stage and Krauser. And undoubtedly, they're eventually going to add more characters to this and more maps to this.
No Ada?
That was what I was getting at, Matt. Probably not Ada, though, because also one of the stories around this game this week is that people started basically rage carpet bombing the reviews on Steam because they don't like Ada in the new game because she's not sexy enough. I'm just like...
Which is weird because...
Did you play the same game as me? She's wearing a mini skirt. Like, how much more... Do you want her to be naked? Like,
I mean, they're mad at Ashley, too, because you can't see her panties anymore.
I just feel like no matter what with
It's
this
just
industry,
chuds.
we're never going to end up not having to deal with children.
No, of course
Like,
not.
when are we going to get out of this where we don't have to, where like 30% of the people who enjoy what we enjoy act like 5-year-olds? Are we ever going to get out of that? Like,
I mean, no other industry does.
yeah. I guess you're right. Like, if I look at sports, people act the same way about sports online. They
Movies,
act like
man.
idiots.
It's 5.5 years later, and people are still whining about The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Over and over. And now they're mad about all this other stupid shit.
They still whine about the Game of Thrones ending. Like, you're right. People, it's not just gamers.
The proper reaction to the Game of Thrones ending is just I never remember Game of Thrones as a thing until someone else brings it up.
I just get so tired of looking bad because of other people. Because it's like, I think about my family members. They see stories like this. Like, they don't see, like, the stories about, like, all the charity drives that people do on Twitch. And all they learn about is, like, oh, there's a bunch of people who don't think the girl's naked enough in a video game and they're all mad now. Like, it's just...
I don't even understand what they're talking about.
I don't
like,
either,
Ada
dude.
doesn't seem any more or less
It's the same.
sexy in this one. I mean, she looks
doesn't have...
different.
Dude, she's not flying around through the environments in a red cocktail dress.
Yeah, I don't...
Which was just ridiculous to begin with, let's be honest.
Yeah,
It's
a lot of Resident Evil 4 was ridiculous, and they changed a lot of that to make it less ridiculous. Luis is not a sex pest anymore to Ashley. That's good. That's a good change.
Fire Native says they feel like she didn't sound excited enough.
What?
I don't even know what that means.
Not animated enough. She's
I mean,
fine.
I always thought she was a cool agent.
Yeah, like
that's who she is.
That's who she. Even in 2, that's who she is.
Yeah,
She's completely unimpressed by everything Leon is and does because she's seen it all before.
I don't get it at all. I don't get a lot of gamers these days, Matt. To be perfectly honest with you,
I was surprised by that. Just because I didn't have really any opinion about Ada in this game.
They're carpet bombing the...
It was just sort of like, that's Ada.
Yeah.
Sure.
Shit was her. I was like, yep, that's how she is. That's how she's always been. She shows up, she says a couple suave things, and then she disappears.
And she leaves Leon alone,
and then
as
she comes
always.
back and saves his ass and says a couple suave things, and then she leaves again. Like, that's just...
And she's like, you're an idiot. I don't know why I keep doing this.
Yeah.
And she's not wrong.
No,
but
she's not. Leon is an idiot. But this is totally free, so if you boot up Resident Evil 4, it will prompt you if you want to download it. The download, I don't know if it had pre-downloaded it or not without asking me, but it asked me if I wanted to download it. I said yes, and then it just appeared.
Oh yeah, there was definitely a 1 point something gigabyte update on that the other day.
It was weird though that they asked me if I wanted it. So maybe they would have just deleted the download if I said no.
I don't know.
It's really weird how they handled it. But
you think they just added to the menu and called it a day?
Yeah, but they didn't. They asked
It's not. It's just in the menu now. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the main menu is just an option there for Mercenaries.
I don't know. I forgot that this was coming this soon. Actually, I forgot.
So I mentioned when we talked about the game proper that it really drove me crazy how slow everybody ran in this. If you thought it bothered you in the campaign, wait till you play Mercenaries and you're clicking the stick trying to make them run, and it's like they barely break into a trot. It's like, go, MFer, what are you doing? It really, in this, because it's all about getting that little bit of separation, turning around, being able to fire a couple bullets, stagger them so you can run past them, making sure you don't get trapped in corners, because that's pretty much what ends it always.
Yeah, nobody in this game seems to understand what sprinting is.
No. And really the only grade that you need to rely on, I'm sure maybe you get some other unlockable stuff if you get S rankings or whatever, but I got like A's for the most part, and that just kept unlocking stuff. Like, you don't have to be like a master of unlocking in order to unlock this stuff. It's the demands of it aren't that difficult. So I had more fun with this than any Mercenaries mode I've played in a Resident Evil game before. I don't know why. I mean, I think the subtle things like the mayhem mode probably makes a difference. One thing I didn't like is that you have to take whatever weapons they give you. Like Lewis here, you get like a handgun, his handgun, it takes forever to reload, and then you get a sniper rifle. It's just like, really? You want me to complete this stuff with these two weapons? I mean, I did okay. I think I got an A ranking or whatever on this one when it was all said and done. But a lot of it is
that's a very weak mid-range game.
This is his run, by the way. This is Lewis's run.
That's as far as it goes. Huh?
So you're like, you keep clicking the stick because you're like, there's no way in hell that this is his run. Like, this is just me holding the stick forward, right? No, that's his actual run.
He's too cool to run fast.
And I think they do a little bit of that just to build the tension. I think that's why they make sure that you can't really sprint as fast as you should be able to. But I had a lot of fun with this, and I didn't play Mercenaries and Village like hardly at all. Like I played a couple rounds just to get some footage of it. I actually kind of stuck with this and kept playing it and got better and better at it. And had interest in unlocking the characters. I would also argue too that I had more interest in unlocking the characters from RE4 than I do the characters from Resident Evil Village.
Yeah.
There's more iconic characters in this game than there were
also
in
the
Village.
combat in this is more interesting.
Yeah, I'd agree with that too. But you can see here, his is a dynamite. His mayhem attack, you just drop dynamite down on the ground. And it takes a while to figure out like how long...
And he takes the time to dust his hands
Right.
off. That's, okay, guy. Like, you know how to move.
And then his takedowns are like this weird like shoulder charge. And then he pulls out a pipe out of nowhere and clubs people with a pipe. It's like, what the hell is going on? But I had a lot of fun with this, more fun than I've had with most mercenary modes. So if you already have RE4, I definitely recommend downloading it and activating it in your copy. And if you have not bought RE4 yet, which I don't know why because it's amazing, but if you haven't, this is another feather in its cap that makes it worth buying. This is a mode that I actually spent time playing and had fun playing versus some mercenary modes in other Resident Evils where I would give it a go once or twice. I'd be like, I get it, and I would move on. So I had a ton of fun of it, a ton of fun with it. Swan Senpai says, I'm playing the story on pro mode and the combat sucks. Actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. That's the other thing you realize playing this, that you don't realize playing through the campaign where you have peaks and valleys and downtime. In this, where it's all about the combat, you really start to realize the shortcomings that I mentioned when we talked about the base game, about when you try to do your roundhouse kick and you can't really line it up the way that you want to, your comments about not having like a shake-off move to shake yourself. That stuff becomes...
Desperately needs a get-off move.
Yeah, that becomes way more obvious in this that it needs that stuff. Like the clunky movement, the inability to do anything with close quarters combat, all that stuff kind of comes home to roost while playing this. That said, I still had a lot of fun doing it, or a lot of fun playing through it. And again, I do think that there will be DLC for this coming forward, and more characters, more stages, and things like that that'll only make it better. So
stuff like that was really annoying in the campaign too. It's like, okay, I'm just cornered. I'll just.
What am I going to do? I'm just going to like keep ducking and unducking. And sometimes you get through, but most of the time you do not. At the very least, you're going to take a ton of damage, and you're not going to get away. They're eventually going to catch you, just like.
And this is like, what am I even aiming at that point? It's just tentacles everywhere.
Exactly. Yeah, but I never did manage to finish any of these. Like, I always just ended up with the time running out. I never managed to, like, kill every enemy, unfortunately. But I did have a ton of fun with it. Here's the village, playing with Krauser. And we'll show you this just for a little bit so you can see kind of his transformation. But he turns into, like, the crazy mutant that he is in the campaign. Maybe I just spoiled something in the campaign, but you guys probably knew that already.
I mean, it's a
no. Are there spoilers for RE4 at this point? Is there such a thing?
No,
I think everything's fair.
It's a 19-year-old game. I think you're good.
Yeah.
Or 18-year-old game.
Yeah, but the more you play it, the more you start to understand the strategy behind it. Like when it's a smart time to pick up the green orbs and add the time.
Also, a bad guy in Resident Evil turns into a giant mutant thing? How dare you, sir? How dare you blow that original and never seen before twist?
Yeah, Very Gooser brings up, I don't know why they got rid of the RE3 evade. I don't either.
No, yeah. That
Maybe they just wanted it to stay as true as they could to the original.
I guess, but like it's even annoying to me that like when the hammer guy does it and you get the evade prompt, I'm like, why can't I just do that all the time?
Yeah. I'm going to just jump forward in the B-roll here so you can see where he actually transforms. There he is. So there he is in his alternate mode. He just grows those crazy limbs, and it just literally just wipes him out. You also, one thing I like about him, too, is that you get an exploding bow with him. And it's hard to find ammo, but
Rambo.
But they end up replacing, like, it's like an exploding barrel that you take with you, basically. And so you can get very strategic with his bow as well. And I would probably recommend, if you're trying to complete any of these, play with Krauser. He was the easiest one to play with to actually get through a lot of the enemies. And again, because he has a bow with exploding arrows, it's like you have a portable exploding barrel with you at all times.
Yeah, as I remember, the unlockable characters were definitely the ones to finish things with, or at least get further with.
Yeah.
Like, the difference was big in the original.
Yeah, so he has, like, his submachine gun, and he has his exploding bow. And to me, I thought that that's the most helpful arsenal to get through the different Mercenaries modes in this. So, again, I had a ton of fun with it. If you already have RE4, I highly recommend downloading it. And if you're on the fence on buying the game, this is just another reason to buy it. It truly is just an amazing game. And this is just kind of icing on the cake of the campaign. right now there's still no games to play. I'm like seriously contemplating playing through the campaign of RE4 again. Like that's how much I enjoyed it. So that's now 3 thumbs up.
Well,
for
good
Resident Evil
news.
4.
There's nothing else to do this week.
There isn't. So I might be heading back on that train, the RE4 train again. Review group says might be the best video game remake ever.
Yeah, it's up there.
That's tough. Dead Space is pretty good, but I don't know if it's that good.
It's not
it didn't
as good
start
as
with
this.
as good of a game either.
No,
The base game wasn't as good.
Yeah,
so.
you're kind of up against like best remake versus best game that is a remake kind of thing. 'Cause
Yeah.
Resident Evil 4 is a better game.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. Yeah, I could see it being the best remake ever. I hope, a year from now that's not the case. I hope something else
can't-
comes along, but...
I don't know what else you'd remake.
Yeah, I don't even know
that'd
what
be
else you
that
could
good.
remake that would have a chance to be better than it. Because to me, already, it's one of the best
Like, I
games
guess if
ever.
we miraculously got some kind of like amazing Ocarina of Time remake out of nowhere, which seems unlikely.
I don't know, actually. That seems to make a lot of sense.
Not in the same year as Tears of the Kingdom.
No. But maybe a year from now,
Like, you
possibly,
redo Ocarina in a modern way, you'd
they'd
be
have a
up there.
chance. But again, that's one of the greatest games of all time.
Demon Souls are good. Shadow of the Colossus, I wouldn't, as much as I love Shadow of the Colossus, that remake is a little weird in places. And it uses the European difficulty, which is off in a bunch of ways.
The change also isn't as drastic, because there was as big a gap between the remake and the original game. Mm-hmm. Still a pretty big gap, but not quite as big.
I mean, it's about the same amount of time. If you count the current remake, not the remaster.
Big Dave Lazard says RE1 still the best remake.
Nah. That game sucks. I just replayed that like before 4 came out because I wanted to kind of refresh. I replayed 2 and I replayed a little bit of the 3 remake. Mm-hmm. I replayed about half of Resident Evil 1 remake. I hate that game. I really don't like it. It's not just the archaicness of the original survival horror formula, and you don't need to use the tank controls, but neither one really works as the changing camera angle.
I use the tank controls.
Tank controls are a little more dependable. At least you always know where forward is.
Right.
But it's just annoying. That game's just annoying, and I hate the crimson heads, and like you don't have enough fuel to really deal with them unless you want to run back and forth all the time. Like the inventory management is stupid. It was always stupid, and I really don't like that Resident Evil 1 remake. Okay. They desperately need to do Resident Evil 1 the way they did 2 and 3.
Yep. Great Rune 12 says Shane reviewed the RE1 remake on GameSpot. I think I did. 8.9. That was my score for it. Mm-hmm. That was in 2001.
Yep.
It was mind-blowing when it came out.
No, it's 2002.
2?
Yeah, because the GameCube didn't come out till 2001.
Right. Yeah. It was mind-blowing when it came out.
It was like March or April.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like early in the year.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought it was weird because it was like, it was clearly still pre-rendered backgrounds.
Mm-hmm. But they looked amazing.
Sorta. Like, I never liked that there was no interaction really between the characters in the background.
I thought the blood got on the walls.
No, it just spreads over the wall. Like, so it kind of, if you squint, it kind of looks like, but sometimes if the angle's right, it looks like it. But then sometimes it just sort of like, it's a decal that's also on the corner, and it's like, oh, okay.
Cold SW says, I was 9. Yes, you were. And I had already been reviewing video games for like 4 years at that point. So when I started reviewing games and getting paid for it, you were like 5 years old.
Oh, Swan Simba. I thought it came out on it did come out on PS4, but the Resident Evil remake was a GameCube game.
It was an exclusive.
They ported it forward to like everything
eventually. Yeah.
But like, no, it was a GameCube game.
Yep, it's part of the Capcom 5. It was the first of the Capcom 5.
Yeah. And I mean, but people would use the thing that annoyed me about it was people would use it as like, see, that's how powerful the GameCube. I'm like, no, it's just fucking pictures.
Yeah.
They're
the only polygons were the characters,
and they were able to be fair, they were able to throw tons of polygons at those characters because they didn't have to use it for the backgrounds.
Yeah,
which is it's a cool cheat, but it doesn't prove anything about the GameCube's power. But you want to do that, you show me Metroid Prime.
Yeah,
because that was real power running around.
Absolutely. Yep. So there you go.
That was a good remake.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, GameCube's having a great year in 2023.
It's kind of crazy to think about.
Where's my Eternal Darkness remake?
Yeah, that should be next.
That would be a good one.
That's a good one to remake, absolutely. Evil Oni 5 playing through RE Remake right now. Interesting.
My condolences. Although I do think the sharks are still cool. I do like that sequence.
I mean, I think there's still great moments in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hear you about it. I mean, it was the the death knell of the pre-rendered RE.
Yeah, it was like, let's just do this the best we could ever do it. And they did, that's still not good enough for me.
It's still cheating. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Yep. So there you go. That is Mercenaries for Resident Evil 4 Remake.
Oh, don't tempt the world with the Metal Gear Solid 1 remake. We did that already, and you all hated it.
We got Twin Snakes.
Yeah, Twin Snakes.
Yeah.
By the Eternal Darkness team.
Exactly. How could you want anything else? But, I mean, an MGS1 remake on PS5 would sell like crazy.
Oh, like insane.
Like, I don't know what Konami's thinking, what it's not doing, but it's
sure
Konami. Why do I wonder?
Okay, so if they did that, would they have to deal with Kojima at all?
No.
Because he doesn't have any rights over any of that, right?
They own
can
it
just do
all.
whatever they want.
Yeah.
Maybe it is
they
time.
were smart.
Maybe it is time to remake.
If they were smart, they would say that they would pay him a bunch of money and say that he was a consultant on the project.
Yeah, but then
just
don't
to waylay fears.
Don't
but then
call
don't
us,
let him
though.
do anything.
Don't do anything.
It's hilarious.
Because I'll tell you what.
The irony.
I'll tell you what I would like for a Metal Gear Solid 1. Yeah, big modern remake. Use the script from the PS1 game, for God's sake, because the redone one for Twin Snakes was under Kojima's supervision, which is a closer direct translation of the Japanese version, and it's terrible.
It really is terrible. Yeah.
The original was changed to conversational English and works way better. And bring back David Hayter. I don't know. He got worse at that voice every game that passed.
He did. It's so weird. You think he'd get better at it, but he never did.
I imagine it's hard on your throat, and he was getting older as time went on, and it just got harder and harder to do right. But by like Metal Gear Solid 4, it sounds like a parody.
Yeah, it does. Yep. Okay, next we're going to talk about a game that Matt played this week, and that game is Everspace 2. I thought it was another like crazy rigid like shipping lanes in space sim.
Oh, no.
But as it turns out, it's not, right?
No. And in fact, the first Everspace is basically a roguelike Dark Souls kind of game where you're flying a ship in space and you have to like explore places and pick things up. And if you get destroyed, you have to start over. And kind of, it's like Dark Souls and roguelike. So it's like very slow progress and sort of da-da-da. This might be one of the biggest shifts in a sequel since
Ever?
Assassin's Creed 2, maybe? Or, if you want to be negative about it, maybe Super Mario Brothers 2, the American version.
Yeah, I can see that.
This is an action RPG loot shooter in space. This is a big open-world action RPG, except you're flying a starfighter.
Instead of running on the ground with an axe.
And it is, other than these cutscenes, which are like obviously moving still images that they do like with voiceover, this could be mistaken for a AAA game.
Really? Is this how all the cutscenes in the game are?
The ones that aren't just like popping up characters talking in dialogue boxes on the ships, like comm chatter. But yeah, the main cutscenes are all this sort of moving
like
watercolors,
moving animated, whatever. Yeah.
So that's the only thing that gives away it's not like a AAA production. The visuals are astounding.
It really is amazing. Yeah.
So this is I played the first one a little bit, but not a whole lot. I assume it's in the same universe, but I don't really know.
Yeah.
You play a character named Adam, and he is working as a wingman, a guardian, basically a super, like an escort for a corporate fleet that's moving through dangerous territory. They get attacked, or they're mining stuff, and in an asteroid, they get ambushed by a bunch of pirates. And basically, you stay behind to try to help your friend whose ship is burning. And he burns up, and you get nailed and captured. And
they say that you're the one to blame.
No, you get captured, and everybody assumes you're dead. And but the problem is that you wake up, and the pirates have realized that you are a clone. You are a clone from a previous war from years ago, and clones aren't supposed to exist anymore, and they're looked down on as horrible things. And they're basically owned by the government, and they were supposed to all have been eradicated.
Oh.
So you are instantly a fugitive from the government, from the colonial forces who come in looking for you because you are reported by the pirate people, I think. Or maybe they have a tracker on you or something.
Right.
They haven't really figured that out yet in the story that I'm playing. And so you escape with the guy you're in the prison cell with, and he takes you to this secret, like, rundown place out in the middle of nowhere. And you're like, okay, well, we're gonna have to rebuild this shit and figure it out. And also, you're like, you still have the body, your friend that you try to rescue is burned but not dead. And so you take him and throw him in like cryo sleep. at the new base. And so the beginning of the game is basically, okay, you want to find medical supplies so you can help your friend because he didn't deserve to die in the way he did. And your new prisoner friend, Dax, he's like, we need to get out of this system. We need to, and to do that, we need to find these things to make the base invisible, and we need jump keys to activate the jump gates and things like that. So basically, the first part of the game is like pulling all these jobs off to sort of get these things you need to get out of the first solar system. And getting out of the first solar system took me 10 hours.
Oh, gosh.
Now, to be fair, I was doing a lot of side missions and exploring and poking around in places, as I tend to do. If you beelined this thing, the consensus online seems to be you could finish the main story in about 30 hours.
Wow.
Because there are 7 star systems.
Wow. That's a big-ass Star Fox.
And it is. And so... you'll see here, like the gameplay is very arcadey. It's not a sim. It is a dog.
As soon as I started looking at the B-roll, I was like, "Oh, I was completely wrong about this game."
It's a dogfighting game.
Yeah.
It is an arcade action RPG Starfighter open world loot game.
Yeah.
So stuff will drop things. Enemies will drop stuff, and you can pick them up. You have all this equipment. You have your shields and your power core and your different weapons. You have two different shooting weapons and 2 different missile weapons.
Is that why there are all those reticles on the screen? It looks like there's like 3 sets of reticles or whatever.
Yeah, that is for that. So all the HUD things like that, those are different for every starship type.
Okay.
So that particular starship type puts those on the sides like that. The one I fly, it's all condensed in the middle with just 2 or 3.
Wow.
It doesn't so on mine. This may be I haven't actually changed my starship type, so maybe this is an earlier build versus like maybe they changed it.
This is an earlier build. This is the actual developer.
So I don't know if I don't know if the HUD difference here is because of that or because this is not the 1.0. Because that's why we're talking about it. Is it's been in early access for like 2 years.
Yeah.
But
you've been able to play this for a while.
It hit 1.0 this week, and I hadn't really touched it too much before then.
Yeah.
So the current HUD, and I don't know if it changes per.
Is this mining that you're doing here, basically?
That's
game?
a secret, but there is mine. There's like you got to find resources and like crystal things and iron deposits and stuff on asteroids and shit. And like that's one of the upgrades is your sensors. So as you upgrade your sensors, you can detect that stuff further and further away, so you don't have to go searching for it so much. So the basic gameplay loop is so you're in these areas like this, and so you have 3 speed. As it seems to be developing in this subgenre, you have normal movement speed, and you can do a little boost, a limited time boost to like go faster. You have cruising speed, which is like a super fast speed that gets you across these areas faster. If you're in this one area and you want to go over where the base is, you do that and you jump over. And then you have jump speed, which is a faster than light speed that warps you around. So when you go to jump speed, you do like a quick transition out of the area, and it kind of shows you the solar system. You're kind of flying around in it, and you pick where you want to go. You hit travel to it, and you start zooming at it at like basically like many, many times light speed. So you can get across the system in like a minute.
I've noticed this ship has the ability to pick up things and then throw them. Does every ship have that ability?
They all do that. That is actually a common usage thing because there's different places you can go that are like mission based, but then there's also just locations called undiscovered sites you can go to around each area that have each undiscovered site is a particular location of interest in that solar system and has a bunch of stuff to find and a bunch of wrecked ships usually, and usually at least one little mini quest that you have to do. And what happens is you find these derelict ships and they're little dungeons, they're little puzzles, and sometimes you have to pick up power cores and take them over and shoot them into the slots they belong in. There's enemies that have particular like special shields that have to be hit by kinetics, which means you can pick up like wreckage around the battlefield and sling it at them, and that'll drop that shield, and then you can do damage to them.
So it's like any other action RPG. You're finding the enemy weaknesses and then using the right weapon or ability against them.
And you've got your weapons do energy and kinetic damage. Energy does damage to shields. Kinetic does damage to armor and hull. But it's actually pretty flexible. Most weapons do both.
Okay.
Just they do more of one than the other. So like on mine right now, I have these lasers that just shred shields but don't do much to armor, and then I have a Gatling gun that can cut through armor and hull in a split second.
So
but if they got shields, there's nothing. So
it's just like using the shotgun to blow up the shields in Resident Evil 4 and then pulling out the pistol to finish them off.
And you don't even need to do like if you get the shields down if you get the shields down and there's no armor, you're gonna shred their hull pretty quick, no matter what. So it's not that picky about it. But you can run out of weapon energy because they draw from the power plant. So if you run out of one, you got to switch to the other. So here you can go in almost anything. There are also planets. You can't land.
You never go on foot, though, right?
You can't get on foot, but you can actually land on planets. There are planets you can land on. There's areas you can fly around on, like above, sort of like Rogue Squadron style.
Yeah, but then you just use that for stuff like this, kitting out your ship.
Yeah, you just land there. You repair. You can do that. There's crafting. So if you can't find a better component through the looting, you can craft like a random component, or you can craft you can dismantle components, and if you dismantle 3 of a particular rarity type and component type, you get the blueprint for that component of that rarity type. So if you're like, oh, I need a new shield generator because I haven't found a good shield generator in like 3 hours, you can craft one, and it's random, but it'll probably be better than what you're already using.
Okay.
So you can control your own upgrades that way. There's a whole perk system where every ally you get.
What do the allies do for you?
The allies, in the story, they're obviously part of the story, but the allies have perk systems. So each one usually has 2 or 3 upgrade things where it's like you go in and you spend the resources that meet all the criteria, and you get the perk for that. So like your first ally, like one of the perks is like speed of how long it takes you to get to jump speed. Like it cuts the time down on that. Or one of the later allies you get, you can teleport stuff from your hold to your storage back at base without going back to base. That's a big one. The medic you get, one of her things is great. It pops energy orbs sometimes out of enemies you kill, and in the first level, it replenishes your weapon energy and your boost, and then you can upgrade it again. And now it does that, but it also replenishes your armor a little bit, and a little bit more. It replenishes your shields. So now every time you kill somebody, if you pick up if they drop orbs and you pick those up, like you've got like some of your protection back again just from killing somebody.
Now they don't ever fight alongside you, do they?
Not so far.
Okay.
Actually, no. A couple of them do, but not often. Like they're not somebody you.
It's not like Star Fox.
No, but there are like story missions.
This gives me strong Star Fox vibes, by the way.
It's not.
It makes me think like, what could the next Star Fox look like?
If they were able to let you free roam 3D, yeah, like it could be. Like it's very arcadey. It is not a sim at all. Don't all you need to worry about is not holding the fire button down long enough that your guns run out. Basically,
is the plot strong enough to keep stringing you along and keep you playing?
Yeah, plot's kind of interesting. Like because you're running from the colonial forces, but you're also trying to figure out like who you are and like because the thing about being a clone in this is they still have all the memories of their previous versions of themselves, and that's a kind of a problem because you don't want
to remember that stuff.
Yeah, you remember all the times you died, basically. And at one point, you do find one of the things you're looking for a particular component you need to get out of the system, and you do find your own body from a previous battle.
Wow!
Because early on, I was confused because it says that like. This takes place in like something like 3060, like the year 3060 or something. And it lists your character's birth date as like 2995, and you look about 20. And I'm like, what's going on? And it's like, oh, they're a clone. And like, so the person you were cloned from was born like 60 years ago, but you are only like 25 years old.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then that gets involved in things. Eventually, you run into like this guy who tries to stop you from leaving the system, who is pretty clearly you. Pretty clearly probably the original you, and is going around trying to take all his clones out.
Oh,
that seems the main villain of the game seems to be you.
Erebus Jones is asking, the first one was made specifically to play with the mouse. It got joystick support later, but it wasn't great. Is this one nice to... does this one play nice with controllers?
This works... I've been playing this completely with an Xbox controller. It works extremely well.
Great. That's good to hear.
And yes, like Everspace 1 was a completely different beast.
Yeah, it's really bizarre.
Do not take any Everspace 1 bag... I like the Everspace 1 fine, but don't take any Everspace 1 baggage or expectations to this game. It's a completely different game. It probably should have a different name.
Is it better?
It's vastly better. I mean, look, I partly say it because I like open world action RPGs way more than roguelikes.
Yeah.
But like, no, this is an exceptionally good game. I love this game.
How much is it selling for?
It's $50.
$50.
50. I think it's on discount now for like 45. like for the launch week or whatever, but the main retail price is $50. It is on Game Pass on PC.
Right now it is?
Right now. I don't think the version on Game Pass right now is 1.0. I think it's like the previous build.
Oh, okay.
Because they haven't gotten that to update yet through Microsoft, but it will soon. And they said the versions are basically the same, just tweaks. And then it will hit PS5 and Xbox this summer. And I believe it will be on Game Pass this summer as well on Xbox.
It's kind of absurd that this game isn't also already playable on Xbox Series. It's just a PC. Like,
well, it's not that it's the certification.
Yeah, I know.
But
I get it, but it's like they should have had it done for Xbox Series, for Game Pass. Like,
they've talked about that. This is a very small team.
Yeah,
this is a company called Rockfish in Germany. It's 20 people.
Yeah.
20 people made this.
They make pretty good games. Like,
they do.
Typically, not just this one. They've made good games in the past.
Yeah, and so once you can get through the gates, you can travel to different systems. And then
there comes an enemy ship out of the gate.
You gotta watch what you're doing.
Watch out!
And you go up against cap ships at times, and and the explosions are very satisfying.
Yeah, they are. I've been watching them in the B-roll.
You can pick these things apart like crazy. Like you can pick all the turrets off. Same with the bases. You pick the turrets off. You can even pick off individual plates of armor.
Really?
To make them more vulnerable that way. You can there's a type of enemy that is like basically a mine layer and shoots mines at you. You can grab the mines in midair and spit them back at them. And there is actually a challenge. You can do challenges that pop up, like where you like do this, just defeat. And one of them is like defeat a devastator with his own mine. There's like things like answer whatever. And every time you complete a set of challenges, you get another perk. Like you get more. You get either bonus.
This is like a boss fight here.
Yeah,
taking on this big frigate.
And you leveling up is pretty slow. But it does give you substantial upgrades. Like you will definitely feel the difference fighting.
That was definitely a satisfying explosion.
Yeah, you'll definitely feel the difference between like fighting like a level 11 enemy when you're level 10 and when you're level 11. Like it's very noticeable. And then once you leave and move on in the story, like previous systems will upgrade, so they become more dangerous. So it's not like you can always go back to the first system and just steamroll everything.
Yeah.
And it's really good. And as you're jumping from like place to place, as you're faster than light traveling, like so there's like unknown sites which are permanently on the map, and you can always pick them and go there and discover them and go back to them or whatever. But when you're traveling, things will pop up, both distress calls and unknown signals. And those are only there for that moment. And if you want to, you can stop and divert to that and see what's over there. And those are like random encounters.
So they have like emergent elements then.
And those are the most dangerous things I have done in the game. Like sometimes those encounters, like somebody's run out of been damaged, and you got to like give them some nanomachines to help them repair their ship, and they give you money. Or it's like we're being attacked by fighters, and you fight them off or whatever. Or you'll like find a derelict ship. Or sometimes like it's just like, this system is rich in resources, and you got to fight. There's usually enemies around, but you can like mine for like a lot of crystals and stuff. But sometimes you land in a place and you're in the middle. Suddenly you're like, it's an enemy base, and there's 40 guys. Like I have been in the middle of dogfights like you wouldn't believe. But then you've got stuff to deal with that eventually. You've got powers. You hold on the controller, you hold X and hit a direction on the D-pad. It's like I have an EMP blast and I have a super boost. So like if I get in real trouble, I just hit the super boost and like I rocket like 5 kilometers away and don't have to worry about them like overwhelming me. And I have another one that like basically it's a nice little cheat. It restores 40% of all the damage to your shield and armor that has happened in the last 15 seconds.
Oh.
So if you like get totally hosed by something, you hit that and get a little of your life back and boost the fuck out of there. But like now I've upgraded that. You can upgrade all those things too. So I've upgraded the EMP blast, so it restores a certain percentage of my life per enemy that gets hit by of my shield by per enemy that gets hit by the EMP blast. So if I'm being overwhelmed, my shields go down and I'm surrounded by guys, I hit that, I hit 15 guys, my shields are completely back.
Wow.
And now they're all disabled for 15 seconds. Okay. And I can just go pick them all.
Right, because they've been the EMP disabled them.
And it's still too much, you rocket away. Like there's a lot of stuff you can play with that. And like, there's all
this sounds like your dream game, man.
You can upgrade all the different, you can buy all these different kinds of ships. So there are like big bombers and freighters and things. They're not all starfighters like that.
This is very Rogue Squadron-ish.
Oh yeah.
This section here.
They're not all just starfighters. And then you can modify them so you can change the colors. You can change the main color, the secondary color, and the lighting color. You can change the lights on all the individual booster rockets on the ship. You can change the windshield color.
Wow.
You can put decals on it. You can change the wings, the back, and the front. So, like, there's all these different parts of, if you don't like the way the ship looks, you want it to look like a different thing, you can slowly pick those up. You pick all those up randomly. They get dropped by enemies. So, like, you can customize those things like crazy. You can have a fleet of ships. You can keep your old ships and swap them out whenever you want. There are different rarity grades of all the ships.
Robonian says, this sounds like a Star Wars game. It makes me think of Star Wars. Like, these people should be making a Star Wars game.
You could do a lot worse than to give these people the fucking Star Wars license.
Man,
I'm just
that's
saying,
what I'm
guys.
Saying. Like,
they need a little help in the script, but
well, that's a perfect
I think you would
partner.
get that from Lucasfilm. Yeah.
I mean, they're not going to let the developer handle that anyway.
There's definitely some things in this where you're like, that's not English.
Yeah.
Like, most of it's very good, and you know, certainly for what it is. But there's moments where it's like, that's not what that idiom is in English. That's like. Yeah. I can't remember what it was, but it was some expression in English that was like, it was like mixing two different expressions, and I don't think it was intentional, but otherwise it gets there fine.
Yeah.
The voice acting, they're actual professional voice actors with like resumes on IMDb and everything. Like, it's not like a fly by night thing.
I just saw there was a sticky turret. Can you fire a turret and then it'll plant on something and start firing? Yeah. That's sweet, man.
That is one of the so you have like equipment.
You know how I love turrets already. Yeah. Like,
so you can fire that off and stick it to like a nearby asteroid or whatever, and it'll just sit there.
It'll just auto target. Yeah. That's awesome.
That's a limited like inventory thing, but you can also craft those eventually if you find the blueprint.
That's great. So $45, PC only right now.
PC only right now.
Free on Game Pass.
Game Pass if you have it on PC. $45 right now, $50 normal price.
Yeah. Did it put your rig to the test at all?
Yeah, once you turn everything up, it actually looks pretty good. Like, it's not doing Cyberpunk Overdrive mode or anything.
Yeah.
But like, it's really, and if you turn the metallic sheen, you can turn the metallic sheen up and down and the gloss on the paint. Mm-hmm. You turn that way up, it's reflecting all the lasers that pass by it and all those neon. Like, there's a big star base you get to in the second system that's like basically like a big like cyber-based city in the space, and they've got, you know, neon lights everywhere and stuff, and it's all reflecting off the ship, and it looks great.
Look who decided to show up. You're a little late.
Finally here.
I think I have to fire you. She's like, no, you're fired.
Call time is 12:30. We send you the sheet every week.
Well, anyway, so there you go. That's Everspace,
Everspace 2.
$45, PC only, Game Pass.
Really, really nice surprise.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't even seem like it's a game that's just for people who like space sims. Like, it really feels like someone who...
Cinetech asks how it compares to Chorus. It is similar to Chorus.
Yeah, I'm getting those vibes.
It does not have the magic psychic element. So it's a little more, I hesitate to use the word grounded, but like, it's a little more traditional space sci-fi. So it's not as dark and sort of, it's not as story driven, I would say. And then the areas are bigger and there's more to kind of discover and do. Mm-hmm. But it is very, if you like Chorus, I can't imagine you wouldn't like this. It doesn't have the magic powers, like you're not like teleporting behind people and stuff. Mm-hmm. But I also really like Chorus, and I really like this too. I will say this. I will be very surprised if this doesn't pop up in the Game of the Year episode for me.
Oh wow!
It is one of the best things I've played in a long time.
Big
in
words
in terms of this subgenre. And in fact, if I hate Starfield, I am going to go back. I'm going to go back to this game to make myself feel better.
All right.
How about that?
Fair enough.
That's what I'm planning this will be.
Okay. All right, let's move on. We're going to talk next about a big event that happened this weekend, and that is Star Wars Celebration. Not a ton of game-related stuff at Star Wars Celebration this year.
I noticed nobody mentioned that fucking Quantic Dream game.
Right.
If they did, I didn't see it.
All they mentioned was Star Wars Jedi Survivor. They released a brand new gameplay launch trailer. In fact, I think this is the last in-engine trailer that's going to come out for the game.
It has to be.
I think they'll have a big cinematic thing, probably, CG something or other for launch day.
Have the commercials hit yet?
Not yet. No, they did actually. They did. I was watching a baseball game and I saw a commercial for it.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
So they're out there now.
It's the only sports to advertise on now, I guess.
Yeah, seems like. I mean, where else can you advertise stuff?
Is hockey on now?
Yeah, they're about to go into the playoffs.
Does anyone advertise on hockey?
Well, yeah, they have to have TV commercials.
Right, but do you see game game commercials and stuff?
Yeah, they know where the bread's buttered. They know that males watch sports live. But for the most part, everything that's in this trailer is just a cut down of all the footage that we showed you guys last week, whenever they put out that big group of B-roll. Now, they did announce one thing about the game. Coruscant is going to be a playable planet. However, they hinted that it won't be an open world environment, which is a little strange. I guess you're just going to land somewhere and they're just going to shuttle you inside real quick.
I imagine it'll be an area, but it'll probably be mostly hallways.
Yeah, that'd be my guess.
My guess is it's probably going to be like that 1313 area.
Yeah, probably.
It's just going to be a very cyberpunky.
Yep, that'd be my guess.
Don't expect to see that rock park from The Mandalorian.
Yeah, but we're coming down the home stretch here with this game. It's only a couple weeks away now. There's not much time left for them to convince people to get on board with it. So Star Wars Celebration obviously was a big deal for them.
It's a lot of announcements.
I'm really curious.
I cannot believe he won't show up at some point in the live action stuff.
Yeah.
Cal.
You'd think. I'm just really curious how this game is tracking. Like, I can see our traffic on Sifted, and it's doing pretty well. It's not doing gangbusters. I'm just wondering, like, if this is really catching people's attention.
I imagine it will.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't think we don't really know one way or the other until the sales hit.
Yeah.
Frankly, like, I would think this would do well, but you don't know, and it's hard to release something. It's always hard when you know that the advertisements aren't going to be on an NFL game.
Yeah.
Because it's just the amount of eyeballs you get from that is so important.
Yeah, and the season doesn't start till September. So
yeah,
if you're
or even
a product,
basketball.
it comes out. Yeah.
I'm sure that would have been nicer to be able to advertise on March Madness.
Yeah. I mean, NBA playoff games, they'll get 18 million viewers usually for like two big teams. NHL playoffs, you get like 5 million maybe. So you're right. It may struggle a little bit to reach a big audience with a single ad like it could have during football season.
It is got the strength it has is that the first one sold so well and everyone still likes it.
Yeah.
So
yep.
I think more of that is going to be well received. So we'll see.
Yep. And then we got to go through these very quickly, Matt. So I want like a sentence or two on each one of these. The first trailer for Ahsoka, and it provided a glimpse of the Star Wars Rebel crew in live action. What does that mean?
Well, that's from the cartoon that followed up Clone Wars that took place between the trilogies and kind of ran right up against the beginning of the first Star Wars movie. And at the end of that, basically one of the characters vanishes with Grand Admiral Thrawn to somewhere thanks to hyperspace whales. Which, by the way, if you remember the first or second episode of the new Mandalorian season, they're in
I haven't watched it yet.
None of it?
The new season?
Oh, right, because you only subscribe to Disney Plus until it's done. Yeah. There's a scene where Din is asleep in the ship, and Baby Yoda Grogu is looking around and sees something outside of the hyperspace lane, and it's one of those whales.
Oh.
Which to all Rebels fans is like, oh, here comes Rebels. So yeah, and that whole thing is going to apparently introduce like a whole different, because where they ended up is like, it's like the leaks are vague, but it's like, it might be a different universe, or it might be a different version of the Star Wars universe where the Force works differently, and like all this like a different timeline almost, where they could do other things that aren't possible in the normal Star Wars timeline. There's also rumors that the Skeleton Crew in that show end up there. Oh. And that connects up that way. They're getting real weird.
Yeah.
With it. And bringing in Thrawn is going to be interesting because obviously he's from the old expanded universe. And those Timothy Zahn books are probably the best, other than the Michael Stackpole X-Wing books, are probably the best expanded universe novels, but they are still terrible books.
Yeah.
And Thrawn being rescued from them and being turned into a better character on Rebels is cool. And bringing him back in the Rebels team is going to be great because I like all those characters. Hera is one of my favorite Star Wars characters of all time because she's like a badass pilot and all that stuff, and a more space fighter show.
Yeah.
You know that. I would love to. I want to play a Star Wars game where I play Hera's role, which is I fly the ship and all the other idiots get off and do other shit, and I get out of it. I want to be a Star Wars combat bus driver. That's my Star Wars game.
Okay, let's get through more of these. 3 new Star Wars films are in the works, and then Daisy Ridley showed up.
Right.
So Rey is going to be in at least one of them.
Rey, yeah, it's one from James Mangold, which is about the origins of the Force, like 15,000 years before the movie. So that's even before. That's like the origins of the in the KOTOR games. They talk about the original Empire. I can't remember, Infinite Empire, I think it's called, the Rakata. That's what that would be. That would be like even before all that.
Wow.
So the origins of how the Force works.
That's kind of cool.
And that's written and directed by the guy who wrote and directed the new Indiana Jones movie,
which also got a new trailer.
I got a new trailer, great trailer, which means Lucasfilm is real happy with Indy 5.
Right.
If they're giving that to him.
Yeah. Which is good to hear because the last Indy movie was terrible.
Yeah, so that's good news.
What are the other two films?
The second one is Dave Filoni is going to write and direct a movie that is going to bring together all the story threads into a climax of Mandalorian, Ahsoka, all those shows are going to come together, and it has to be the conflict with Thrawn.
Interesting.
Because you'll notice in the Ahsoka trailer, she mentions he wants to be the heir to the Empire.
Yeah, I'm sorry we can't show you this stuff either. It'll also send up.
That is the name of the
strikes.
first Thrawn book from 1991 or whatever.
Gotcha.
That was the original expanded universe novel, Heir to the Empire. And so that is what they're kind of not going to adapt it because that story isn't good enough to be in the Filoni's. Filoni's a better writer than that, basically. But I think they will end up with some version of Thrawn and his Katana fleet or whatever versus the New Republic, and all those characters it'll be the Avengers of the Filoniverse, basically.
Okay. What's the third one?
And the third one is the Rey, the Daisy Ridley Returns thing, which is going to be 15 years after the Rise of Skywalker, and she is going to be basically trying to run a new Jedi Order.
No. But she's the last Jedi, Matt.
Well, yeah, but like she's not, but she can make more, I guess.
Yeah,
you can raise.
Joking, but...
She took all the books.
Yeah.
It'd be fine. I mean, look, I hate The Rise of Skywalker. I thought that movie was terrible, and I don't like that she's called herself Skywalker. I think she should have stayed as nobody. I think she should have accepted. She should have gone to be nobody, and because that's what that movie sets up.
But they can't let Skywalker die, Matt.
Yeah, let it go. She's a Palpatine anyway, so a Palpatine has taken the Skywalker, and that's very weird.
It is.
That's
I agree.
So I think that you'll use that movie if that movie comes out. I think the other two are definitely going to happen. I think this movie, if any of the three doesn't actually end up happening, probably this one might not because it's a hard follow up.
Having her there though, pretty big deal.
Yeah, because she and the main three were pretty adamant that they weren't going to do any of this again. I think Oscar Isaac will stay gone. Oscar Isaac has other things to do.
Yeah.
But I think Boyega might show up. I could see Finn making an appearance at some point in that movie.
I don't think people would.
I'd be happy to see them.
Yeah,
that's fine.
me too. And then they showed the first clip from the Acolyte.
And then we didn't get to see because that was not made public.
Yep. And then
no, they did show that. Did
they?
That was the one with everybody with the orange sabers.
Oh right, right. Yep, you're right. And then the first look at Skeleton Crew.
Yeah.
And then Andor season 2 they announced it launches next year. Yeah. Which I was pleasantly
August
surprised to see. I was really afraid it'd be 3 years before we got another season.
No, I think they were already working on that.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So that was good to hear. And then the new Indiana Jones trailer that they showed, which also was really good. So how would you rank this Star Wars celebration in the grand scheme of things?
Oh, that's good. It's like an A-.
Seems like a good one. Yeah.
Like the only thing that could have made it better is if you gave me like that Rogue Squadron game that I've been waiting for forever.
I was surprised that they didn't play the game. Like for 20 minutes in front of the crowd.
Star Wars Celebration isn't really about that.
This is your big chance. That's a big chance in front of that audience.
You would bore that audience. That audience is...
Even like a 5-minute boss fight or something?
Nah, just a trailer. Makes more sense for that. Everybody's there to see the actors on stage and stuff. They don't care about the game.
Okay.
I mean, they do care about the game, but that's not what they went to Europe. They went to Europe to see.
Right.
So, no, I get it.
Yeah. Seems like a really good Star Wars celebration to me. We covered a little bit on the site. I know you guys love Star Wars.
Oh, and Visions, the second season of Visions, which looks cool.
Oh, was shown at Star Wars Celebration?
Yeah, they put that out publicly. That's the animated kind of non-canon, like alternate universe stuff.
Oh, okay.
It was all anime last time, and this time it seems to be all over the world, like different studios animation studios from all over the world. Looks pretty cool.
Okay. Again, I apologize that we can't show you all this stuff. They throw up copyright strikes and they'll demonetize the entire show. We could show 10 seconds of one of those Star Wars trailers, and it will demonetize the whole 3-hour show.
Esfon says the division of Disney's in total flux. None of those projects are sure to come out. No, they all are, except for those movies. Yeah. Like the almost everything they talked about there is already in post production. Ahsoka's in post production. Skeleton Crew's in post production. The Star Wars Visions 2 is made is already pretty much done through. The only thing I think is questionable is the Daisy Ridley movie. I think that might fall apart in screenwriting. I think there might be a point where you just decide that it's not salvageable. Certainly would be my opinion. Good luck. I hope you come up with something. The other two, I think Mangold gets stuff done, and Filoni is obviously going to get that movie. Like, there's no question. Like, that's what they've been building to this whole time.
Yep.
The only question is the audience for the Disney Plus shows going to transfer to a film audience? Because let's be honest, way more people watch movies worldwide than watch Disney Plus shows.
Yeah.
And Marvel has kind of...
I think it'll work.
Somewhat. Marvel surprised me in that they reference the shows as much as they do, like especially in Doctor Strange 2.
Yep.
This movie has to stand alone to some degree. So it has to be the culmination of all these plot threads, but it also has to be its own thing. Basically,
it has to make sense, standing on its own two feet.
They're doing this, trying to pull the same trick that the Firefly movie did, basically. And that didn't work
It
too
really
well.
didn't, no.
So we'll see. Filoni's a very talented writer.
I have faith.
So, yeah, me too. But like, it's going to be one hell of a high wire act.
Yeah. Okay, so there you go. That's Star Wars Celebration 2023. Let's move on. We're going to have a little bit of fun on GameFace. So this week, Kotaku published a feature where they selected the best-looking video game consoles of all time. And I started looking through it. It was like a slideshow or whatever. I started looking through it, and I realized, I'm like, man, it's really hard to figure out, like, which ones look the best. It was hard for me to pick the one that was the best. I thought it might be a fun thing for Matt and I to discuss on GameFace. So Matt and I have both selected 2 consoles for the best consoles ever, best looking consoles ever. We have a runner-up and we have a winner. And once we start discussing this, if you guys want to start putting your picks in the chat, once Matt and I are done discussing it, I will be sure to share your picks as well through the audio of the podcast. So first of all, Matt, what is your runner-up for the best looking console of all time?
My runner-up is the Dreamcast.
The Dreamcast. What is it about the Dreamcast that you like about the looks of it?
There's something about the shape of it I like the kind of the convex front, and then it has that weird sort of swoop. It almost has like a spoiler.
Yep.
In
It's
the back.
built almost like a drag car.
Yeah.
I like the look of the Dreamcast.
I like the vents
too.
on the side. I like the 4 ports on the front. I like the weird little arrow. I prefer
the triangle.
The weird little triangle.
Because it comes over the CD case.
Yeah. I prefer the Japanese one because on the Japanese one...
Are they different?
They are different.
I didn't know that.
I'll try and dig them out. I think I have them both in the closet downstairs. On the Japanese one, it's more clear.
What's more clear?
The triangle.
Oh, really?
There's a difference between the triangles, and I remember if I recall correctly, I like the Japanese one better. I think the Japanese one is that clear all the way back, and the American one is the solid gray.
Interesting. I did not know.
If I remember, I think that's it because that's an American one because it has the Windows thing down there, which is different on the Japanese one. It's not the same logo.
Now I did know that there was a bunch of colors that launched in Japan that never came to the U.S.
Yes, there was like a Godzilla green one. And all this. I like the regular white one. I'm not a fan of alternate color consoles usually.
I typically am not either. However, my first runner-up, I am a big fan of alternate colors. And
right.
Because my pick for runner-up for best-looking console ever is the PlayStation 5. However, with the stipulation that it has the black plates. Mm-hmm. Now, I'll say this. Putting the black plates on it made me realize that it's just an attractive console in general. I actually feel like the white distracts from sort of the sculpting that they've put the PlayStation 5 through.
I think it definitely does, yeah.
When everything's black in all one uniform color, I think it looks like a different console, and you can see the artistic touches of the console.
No, the shape is more evident with the black on it.
Yeah, and I've looked through dozens of photos of consoles, and I really struggled to find one that I liked more.
I will say I like it better horizontal.
My wife won't let me stand my console vertical.
Well, I think that looks like I think that's a cooler looking design like that. It looks more like some kind of spaceship or something. And standing up, I think it looks kind of dumb.
Yeah, the stipulation, my wife was like, you can put as many consoles as you want on the entertainment center under the TV, but they all have to be horizontal. And I was like, deal. I'll take that deal if you're going to let me put all my consoles up there.
You know, the other thing I thought, I didn't mention this when we talked about it, but like, I thought about when I unplugged it and put it away for the last time, probably for the last time. The PSVR 2, where it plugs in on that USB-C port there on the front.
Yeah.
Vertically, I feel like that's gonna wear and tear over time.
That is a little weird.
It's gonna like hang
the weight hanging
there. I feel like that could be a problem over time. That wouldn't be a problem horizontally.
True. Yep, it's true. I know it's weird that this console is one of the newest ones that came out. I mean, I just think aesthetically it is very pleasing and more pleasing with different colored plates than the white. I still have no idea why they went with like the two-tone PS5. Now, obviously, it hasn't hurt its sales because they sell them as fast as they can make them, but I just think the all black looks far more attractive than the black with the white.
even if it had just been a different, like not maybe as blinding a white. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, obviously, what do we know? They sold fine.
Yeah,
like,
apparently they were right, because ultimately it did very, very well.
It was just weird. It was, I mean, more weird to me that they seemed caught off guard by the idea that people would want to change those plates.
Yeah.
It seemed like, I mean, maybe,
they should have been available.
Maybe
I'm
just still thinking like Jay Allard back in the 360 launch days, but it felt like a pretty obvious.
It seemed obvious. Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you remember the OG Xbox 360, it took them a long time before they started putting out face plates.
Yeah.
Like, we realized you could pop the plate off, and it took like a year and a half before they were ever like, yeah, you know what? Let's start making custom plates.
Well, they showed that off when they first showed it.
Did they?
Yeah.
The custom plates?
They gave us custom plates on the way out of the press
I
conference.
thought that was the second year after it was already out.
No, that was the reveal.
Well, it was.
That was the reveal. But you're right. They did not get any real mass-produced faceplates out beyond like that. They had like a launch celebration one. Mm-hmm. But like we thought it was going to be like, oh, almost every game's going to have an accompanying plate. It would be like, you know, every kind of brand you could think of, every band you can think of, like nothing. It was nothing. Yeah, like you could get like the 70s like wood paneling one, and like the Xbox 360 kind of celebration one. I think there was a star one, and that was
I have like 10 of them in a closet. Like they're probably not worth anything at this point.
Once they gave out of that at E3 2005 are worth something. Yeah, because they were only given out.
They were numbered. Yeah, if I remember correctly.
But like everything else, like no one really ever cared.
Yeah. It never really caught on.
To the point that they got rid of it for the Slim version.
Yeah, they didn't even have it anymore. Okay, it's time for you to announce your winner for the best-looking console of all time, Matt.
My winner is the Super Famicom.
Which is not just Super Famicom, but...
No, Super Famicom, the Japanese one.
Yeah.
Yeah, not Super Nintendo, the Super Famicom.
Yeah. What do you like about this? I was surprised that this was your pick.
I mean, I think it looks similar to the Dreamcast in some ways. It's just I like the shape of it. I like how, like... flat it is. I like how integrated the buttons are, as opposed to like they were all like kind of slidey things in the US version.
Yeah.
I will say, like my friend Andy got a Super Famicom like when it came out. His dad brought it back from Japan, and so we were playing this for like a year before the Super Nintendo came out. And when the Super Nintendo came out, it was this big rectangle with these big slunky buttons and like the big like clunky like eject panel. Like I was like, oh, gross. And like I like the cartridge slot. Like the Super Famicom cartridges are kind of tapered. Yeah, they look a little bit more like the N64 cartridges.
They do. Yeah.
I think the shape of the cartridges is really elegant and way better than the weird rectangle contraption that is the American
This is what
ones.
I have, by the way. This is my Super Nintendo. I have the Super Famicom. I don't have a US Super Nintendo at all.
Well, good.
Yeah.
I like the logo better, like the little 4-color logo they use. It matches the controller. Like I just think that's a sleek design.
It is.
That
classic, simple.
Way more than the American one. It doesn't have the weird purple from the American one. I really just didn't like what the Super Nintendo looked like in comparison.
Me too. I agree. I don't like the look of it either. Yep.
And I think this just is an elegant, clean, like no nonsense. It's a beautiful piece of design, especially for the time. Yeah, like they weren't really making things, and it's not
nothing
all,
looked like that.
No,
at the time.
It's not all black. Yeah. It's got like two tones. It didn't look like anything else on the console on the shelf.
One thing I will say. The controller cables on that thing are literally like 1.5 feet long.
Yeah, they really made that one for Japanese apartments.
Literally 1.5 feet long. Yeah. It's really insane. So I did get.
He had a tiny little bedroom, but we still had to sit on the floor in front of the TV. And
I did get US controllers for it because of the length of the cord. So ultimately, I did have to buy something from the
US controllers were definitely better. Yep. There was no one correct solution to the Super Nintendo.
Nope. And my pick for the best-looking console of all time, and this may surprise people, is the Nintendo GameCube. It's just classic. It's so simple that it is.
Here's one I do support alternate colors on.
Yeah.
They got a black one.
Yeah, I got a black one at launch. Then I sent it away to get it like painted and customized and got a mod chip put in it. Mm-hmm. So now I have a forest green metallic GameCube. And not only that, they also replaced the LED light in mine. So I have a blue LED light instead of the orange one that comes stock. But
that is better.
The GameCube is so simple that it has withstood the test of time. You could put that out tomorrow and it wouldn't be any different than when it was put out in the early aughts. Mm-hmm. It could, and then the crazy part was, I remember when it came out, they're like, wait a minute, this is GameCube. Why is this thing actually not a cube? It's a rectangle. And then Nintendo dropped the final shoe, which was like, hey, here's this Game Boy player that we had in the works all along that we never told you about that actually makes it a perfect cube. When you put the Game Boy player on it, then it actually becomes the GameCube.
Yeah, I've had that Game Boy player on it for so long that when I moved, I'd forgotten that's not...
That it was extra.
I'd forgotten that wasn't just what the system looked like in the first place.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, right, there's another thing on this.
Yeah. The handle, I mean...
it's a lunchbox.
Yeah,
Let's be honest. It's not cool.
Picking indigo for its base default color, I think, was a huge mistake.
Probably. I mean, I'll be honest, my favorite colored GameCube is the weird, like, dark teal debug version that never got sold. That was my favorite color of any GameCube, and they never sold it publicly.
I mean, ultimately they ended up having like 9 or 10 colors.
A bunch of them.
Some of them were just for specific games.
That orange one was horrible.
You didn't like the burnt orange?
I didn't like the orange juice box.
I like that one.
I like the Resident Evil. They did a Resident Evil one.
Silver
was cool.
looked good. The black
red
looked good. I liked the burnt orange.
Nothing will ever match that era of N64 where they were just they were making
the see-through jelly ones.
Yeah, well, because it was the iMac era, so everything had to be see-through and transparent. And there was like 7 different transparent N64s.
Yeah,
and they did the same thing with the Game Boy Colors too. But like,
and this doesn't count for its looks very much, but it's not loud. Like the fans on it are like dead quiet. It's just a very elegant machine.
Well,
Look
there's
at the
also
controller ports. It's like it's just 1 dot for port 1, 2 dots for port 2. Like
which the Dreamcast stole.
Did it?
It has the same thing on it. It has the dots on it.
Yeah, and the memory ports, very simple. Everything is just very simple.
There's
clean,
also
and
something
elegant.
very satisfying about pressing the tray open button.
Yeah, and it has that slow like eject.
Yeah, but that button feels good to press. I don't know how else to describe it.
No, you're right. Yep. So there you go. That's my pick for the best looking console of all time. Now I want to see what you guys think. Let's go into the chat and see what you guys are saying. I saw someone say the Atari Jaguar, which I was like, okay, I can understand that.
I guess the Dreamcast did come first.
Now that I think about it, you're right, it did.
That was a couple of years earlier.
Very Gooster. I like the original PS4 console. Yeah, that looks good. Do you remember what it looks like?
It's one downstairs, yeah.
The original PS4, not the PS3.
Oh, PS4?
Yeah.
It was just a shorter PS4 Pro.
Pretty much, yeah.
PS4 Pro just added a story onto the house.
You're right. That's really all it did. Yep. PS5 looks better horizontal.
Yeah. There's also there's not a lot of great looking game consoles.
Mega Drive guy. PS5 definitely one of Sony's worst designs in my view. I guess we definitely have different tastes.
I mean, the PS5 actually stands out in some way, at least.
Yeah.
I mean,
it actually has a design. It's not just a rectangle.
Right. It's the first time since the PS1 that it's not just a black rectangle.
Yeah. And to be fair, my best looking console was a parallelogram. It was a rectangle.
And there's some things I think the PS2 Slim is cool.
Look, Estamont, the PS5 is. I'm wondering how many of these people are Xbox fans that just.
I mean, I can see somebody hating the PS5.
By the way, Matt,
a PS5 is a bold choice, and you either love it or you hate it.
Yeah.
I think.
By the way, Matt, last week when I was talking about how I felt like there was a certain segment of people who are happy to see E3 die because they hated that it was an exclusive event. When we put that episode up on YouTube, it was literally the first comment that the episode received was that I hate E3 because I could never go, and you bunch of jerks held it over my head that only you could go. So there is a segment of people who hate E3 because they weren't allowed to go for the longest time.
Because it was an industry expo event. It was never a convention.
Yeah. First 360 Slim model for not Cirque.
Yeah, the 360 Slim looks cool.
PS Vita for me. A lot of people like it handhelds. Interesting. Of all the handhelds, I would say the first GBA is the one that has the best shape.
Yeah, I like that. I like the GBA SP, like the
clamshell.
There's something just sort of cool about that. You can do it with one hand, kind of thing.
It's just a square, or a rectangle. So I picked
the Atari is an interesting pick. That's a very weird.
Esmond agrees with you. The Dreamcast. Barry Lomax, my initial thought is PS2. That's also a pretty good looking console. Although, one thing I didn't like about it doesn't have to do with its looks, but the ridges in the front, you could never clean it. You could never get the dust out of that thing because it had those very small ridges in the front.
Yeah, you need to take a little toothbrush to it or something.
Or Q-tip with alcohol. They just after 6 months, every PS2 looked like trash because of those ridges that were on it.
I did appreciate you could rotate the PlayStation logo on it, though.
Very small thing that was very clever because you could stand it up vertically for the first time. What else we got?
I mean, I had my PS1 vertical a couple of times just to get the fucking disc to work, but that was not intended.
Threadzilla OG Fat PS3.
Wow.
I didn't think we'd see any of those. I am not a fan of that. I think it's awful because it also has that really cheap, flimsy plastic cover that goes over like all the memory card slots that literally just could easily snap off and be gone forever. I was not a fan. But again,
I also don't like that it's curved on top because you can't put anything on it.
Right. It won't sit. Yeah, I agree.
Not that you should put tons of stuff on your game consoles, but like you can put an action figure or something. And I do, but like you can't do anything on that one.
To me, PS5 is too big. So big. Just bought one.
They are big.
Yeah, they're big, but
you could eat dinner off that thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what that has to do with the actual look of it, though. But sure. I mean, it's impractical.
Yeah, I'd still like the Dreamcast.
It takes up a lot of space.
I still like the Dreamcast if it was twice as big.
Yeah.
It would just be silly.
Come on, beige system. Has there ever been a beige system?
I mean, after a while, the Super Nintendo turns beige.
All the old consoles turn beige.
Not really.
I had to look up PS4. I forgot what it looked like. It is funny how you forget this stuff already.
I want to say it was the Coleco. What? No, those are all black. Those early ones are all black.
Barry Lomax says a PS5 reminds me of an M&M cookie. Ultimate Villain says Xbox One X, just the rectangle square. Very simple.
All right.
American SNES looks atrocious in comparison to the Japanese. Yep, agreed.
Yeah, I like the Genesis. I think the Genesis Mega Drive looks cool.
Yeah.
Actually, my favorite Genesis is probably the Genesis 2 hooked to the Sega CD 2.
Yeah.
Like I think that's a fun looking beast.
Yep. George Foreman Grill PS3 is my favorite. The Legacy, so the OG PS3 fat. Sandwich has a lot of favorites: GameCube, Xbox Series X, new 3DS, Pokemon 20th anniversary. I never liked any of the 3DS. I thought that was just heinous, all of them.
Yeah, I don't think I was a fan of any of them.
The launch unit was maybe the ugliest console ever released.
Awful.
So bad. Too Quick Capri liked the burnt orange on GameCube. PS1 Slim looks slick from the Abram. It's so small.
I can't remember,
It looked like a CD case almost. It was so tiny. It just showed you how they were able to
cram it all in there.
Yeah.
I like the PS2 Slim. I thought that was a cool.
Yeah. Project Scorpio.
I don't know how much about
X.
I don't know how much of that was the design and how much it was just like, oh wow, look how they crammed this all down in here.
What this is really showing from you guys is that looks are completely subjective. Like there are consoles that you guys are picking that I would just think are the worst looking things I've ever seen, and you love them, and vice versa. I think the PS5 is a little piece of artwork, and you think it's trash. So it just goes to show you.
Nobody likes the 2600 with the wood paneling.
I mean, I think you may be right. I think that's the one thing everybody's agreed on that looks like trash. Is the Atari 2600, because they put out the Sears version that got rid of the wood paneling. It was just black on the front, and I was jealous that my friends had the Sears knockoff one, and I had the OG Atari one that had the wood paneling on it.
I mean, it's just the wood paneling 2600 is amazing to me because the design is intended to fit the current decor of houses, like suburban houses in 1977.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, we put wood paneling on, it'll just blend with everybody's living room because that's what they looked like.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it's such a weird little relic.
Yeah.
Like, and now imagine like Sony trying to design something. It's like, you want to talk about the opposite of that? PS5.
Yeah.
Like, Sony does not care if that looks good in your room. Everyone is going to know that there's a PS5 here.
The Legacy, the 2600 looks like an old AC unit.
Yeah.
And Squishy Muffin says the white Switch OLED looks good. Yeah, I think it looks good.
Yeah, it does. And then
it's the best looking Switch.
I always like the Atari 5200 because it's gigantic for no reason. It's bigger than the PS5, I think, like, front to back, and like. The cartridge is it just goes in the middle, and like the cartridge looks so lonely. Like it's sort of in the middle of this giant console. You're like, why is there so much space here?
Yeah.
And then the controllers are those giant things with the number pads. Like the Atari 5200 was a trip.
It was. Yep. So there you go. There's our picks and your picks for the best looking consoles of all time. And we've now run out of time, so we only have enough time for, and I can bring it up here. That's right. It's time for Name That Game, where I show you 5 screenshots from a video game and you try to guess the name of the game before Matt Kyle. A couple things before we get going. If you've won this year, do not play. You can only win once in the year. Don't guess. Don't do anything. Don't ruin it for everybody else. Also, if you have no interest in receiving a PC game code for winning, then please do not play. If you want to give it to somebody, that's totally cool. It's yours to do whatever you want with it. But if you think to yourself, a code for a game on Steam, I don't know what I would do with that, just don't play. Let somebody else win it, because that's what you get for winning. The winner gets a free PC video game. And with that, it's time to get going. This one should be really easy, but we'll see if you guys can get it. I literally think you should be able to get it from the first one, but that's all I'm going to say. Are you ready, Matt?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait. I got to put the chat in slow mode. That's another thing.
It's in slow mode.
What, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's on slow mode. What happened? Okay. Well, there we go. I don't know how that happened, but we're already there. You can only don't spam the chat with game titles. You can only guess once every 60 seconds. So there you go. And here we go with the first image, and I do think you can get it from this. Name that game. Go.
Oh. Is that
Mondus Fight Palace. No.
Is that Deus Ex? Well, Deus Ex Human Revolution.
Ding, ding, ding!
Oh,
We
yeah?
got a winner! Matt, you got it, man. Awesome,
no,
dude.
I think JJ Forcebreaker got it. 'Cause
Did he?
that popped up immediately.
Oh, I missed it.
I couldn't. No, right after I said it and you said ding ding, I looked in it and his popped up immediately.
Oh, okay. Then you are the winner. Congratulations. Who got it?
JJ Forcebreaker.
JJ Forcebreaker. Congratulations.
Deus Ex HR. I couldn't remember the subtitle.
Yeah, congratulations, JJ. And the reason that somebody could get it off of this first thing is
that color.
It's gold.
Everything is that color.
Everything in that game is gold. And they made a big point of it. Like, they put out an entire developer doc about how the whole game is gold. And so I knew if people were really following that game, they'd be able to get this right away. And notice the theme as we go through these. Gold.
Mm-hmm.
That one, I was like, I'll throw them off with this one. I'll find one screenshot with a one section that has no gold in it. But then for the fourth one, right back to the gold lighting, and that showed kind of a robotic enemy there. And then this is the final one.
Mm-hmm.
But great job. What is it again? JJ Forcebreaker. I love that name. I should probably remember it since I like it so much. Here's another round of applause. JJ says, I spent like 400 hours with that gold filter. Please don't call it piss. It's art.
It's a choice. I mean, we all remember it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know how many people would... Because that game now is like 12 years old.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how many people would remember. You got it right away. JJ got it right away. And in fact, somebody else
A couple other people got it, yeah.
A couple people got it right away. Yeah.
I mean, there was also just the H-Bomber video about it. It's a
Yeah.
3-hour video about how it's fine.
And it probably had 5 million views. I'll never understand YouTube. JM Rain, thank you for Twitch Prime. And S-Mon's like, oh, poor Shane. It's all good, man. Like, I knew this one. I kind of hoped that somebody would get it on the first one. I figured someone in our audience would remember that was a thing about Deus Ex Human Revolution. And sure enough, you guys did not let me down. You never do. And unfortunately, I think that's it for GameFace 338. We are unfortunately out of time. We had actually 2 more topics that we were supposed to get to today that we never got to.
Save them for next week.
Yeah, we'll need them next week. And I think the truth is they will still work next week, which is great. JM Rain, thank you for gifting all the Tier 1 subs as well. Before we go, I do want to say thanks to our sponsor, LS Cream. It is a liquor company created and run by a fellow sifter, by a fellow gamer. If you like Bailey's Irish Cream, this is way better. It is an extremely versatile liqueur. You can mix it with your coffee. You can mix it with just about anything. Go to creamls.com. Check it out. There's a store locator there. Go buy 10 bottles and give them to your family, give them to your friends, or just drink them all yourself. I won't judge. But try to support LS Cream if you can. It really makes a big difference for us having a sponsor here. And obviously, if you guys actually go and buy the product that's sponsoring us, they're more likely to continue being a sponsor. So we'd really, really appreciate it. Before we go, if you're listening to this show on any of the podcast services or you watch it on YouTube, it would be really great if you could go to patreon.com/sifted and pledge. $20 Twitch Prime is great. It's sporadic. It's erratic. It's actually been terrible for us the last few months. It's not pulling the cart like it used to. We really need people to go and pledge at patreon.com/sifted. That's money that we can rely on, money that we can make plans with. So even $1 a month, if you just want to help us out. $4 a month gives you all our content early. $2 a month gives you Pactor Factor, just Pactor Factor a week early. We'd really appreciate it if you go over and give us a little bit of a help. We really need it. With that, I think that's it for the show. We'll be back next Tuesday at twitch.tv/siftedgames at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. I'm not promising anything for next week's show because this next week is pretty light, as you guys will see as you try to find something to play this week. Commander Fett says, I wish I could get some LS Cream. They don't sell it in Utah. Interesting. I wonder why. Is that something to do with the Mormon stuff? Maybe. I know when I went to Utah.
Either that or like he just hasn't found distribution there yet.
I interviewed for a job in Utah one time in Salt Lake City, and like after I interviewed, they were like, "You want to go out and get something to drink?" And I was like, "Sure." And they took me to a bar where I had to like sign in to get into the bar, and they had to like be my sponsor, or I wasn't even allowed in the bar.
Wow.
Yeah, there's weird like alcohol laws there, so I don't know if maybe that's it. But buy it everywhere else. Damn it, you can get LS Cream everywhere else. He says we don't get a lot of liquor here. Yeah, I guess that's it. So
Can't imagine why.
yeah. So anyway, thanks to everybody on our chat. You guys made the show better today, as you always do. Thanks to all our patrons. Without you guys, none of this is possible. Thanks to the people watching on YouTube who turn off ad blockers while they watch the show. You're doing that, right? Right? But thanks to anyone who supports us in any way. If you can't afford money or whatever, just share the show on social media. Just tell all your followers, I love this show. You can review the show on a podcast service. That helps us too. There's lots of stuff you can do without giving us a penny, and we'd appreciate it if you could. So anyway, we'll see you back here next Tuesday. GameFace is up and out.